Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страни.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Їх доводи всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
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 Yes.
The Lviv Spring Army sends its regards.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 889 of the news. And it's good to see you all once again. And we're hearing of major escalations in the Middle East, and also the F-16s have officially arrived in Ukraine, and a big old for that one.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 24 hours of the ongoing conflicts within the Middle East and also within Ukraine as well, as we have gotten major news from both areas today showing not only that the Middle East will be going pretty much into a full-on state of conventional war here very soon, but we are also seeing that within the area of Ukraine, Ukraine has been able to decisively strike and knock out a large amount of military facilities around the city of Kursk, and at the exact same time, the largest drone attack of the entire war in Ukraine was launched by the Russian Federation, and the Ukrainian Armed Forces was able to successfully shoot down an incredibly large number of the drones. We have loads, an insane amount of news, loads of it as a matter of fact. And I would have to be honest with y'all, if it wasn't for us already getting ready before the stream to cover the Middle Eastern news, I wouldn't even really know where to begin. Every single part of the news tonight is incredibly large. There is a lot going on around the world, and also, just to give y'all a full disclosure here, there is still a lot going on in Venezuela, but due to time constraints on this stream and how much news we have to cover inside the Middle East and Ukraine, we have had to sadly remove that segment from the stream. I actually went and got about 5 markers for it, but then I removed them all because we simply just would not have enough time to be able to get into the Venezuelan situation in great depth on the stream tonight. But nevertheless, there is still a lot of uprising still happening inside of Venezuela against Maduro's government, but we will not be able to cover that in greater form on this stream tonight. We will only be focusing entirely on the Middle East and entirely on Ukraine as well, and both of those conflicts and what has been going on in those areas. And that brings us into the Middle East. Many of y'all will know that last night, while we were live on air, the Israelis were able to conduct an airstrike against Ismail Haniyeh inside of his mansion within Tehran and killed him in the very room he sat in. From what we understand, it was some sort of an airstrike or a missile launch that ended up hitting the building. We're going to classify it generally as an Israeli airstrike that ended up slamming into the very room he was sitting in and destroying that part of the building and him along with it. It was a very precise attack. We have very rarely ever seen any kind of an attack like that before. And really quickly, let me move over to Twitter because, once again, due to how much news we had to cover, I didn't put this marker down on the map, but we do have this on our Twitter. So let me go and quickly grab this. It is a picture of the damage that was caused.
Oh, man, we got lag already. What the hell's going on tonight?
Man, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm guessing it's probably some goofballs and idiots out there. You know who I'm talking about, Matthew. But beyond that, we were able to see right here the damage that was caused. From what we understand, the government of Iran put over a tarp on the area that was hit. I don't know where they got the tarps from. It looks like they may have gotten them from some kind of a haunted house or a party city, but nevertheless, they put tarps over the side of the building where this sick guy, Ismail Haniyeh, was killed where he was sitting. From what we understand, the bomb, the guided bomb or the guided missile, ended up slamming directly into his room, killing him and a bodyguard inside of the building. Right now, the Iranian government is completely caught off guard because of this attack. It happened in the middle of Iran, in the middle of the capital of Iran, Tehran. It is insane to see something like this happen. It suggests one of two things. Either an F-35 Lightning or an F-35I Adir was able to breach the airspace of Iran, fly all the way into a couple of dozen miles away from the capital city of Tehran, and release a guided bomb that was able to hit the exact area of the building that Ismail Haniyeh was within. This is a massive embarrassment to the Iranian government if true, and dang, thank you so much, JR Does Stuff, for the massive support. Thank you. And it's
very nice. Man, that was like, I gotta say real quick, because I was not here last night, sadly, to comment on it, but the intel required to pinpoint the location of where he was at in Tehran was so impressive to me. That might be one of the most impressive strikes I've ever seen by the Israelis. That the intel it took to actually pull that off was immense, and to finally actually find the exact room he was in inside of that building was also insane to see as well.
That was absolutely insane. I'd agree with that completely. We have never seen this kind of precision on a strike by the Israelis. And I believe at this point that we have been able to get enough confirmation to say without a shadow of a doubt that it most likely, if not certainly, was the Israelis that did conduct this airstrike against Iran. I believe the Israeli government, if I'm correct, Matthew, may have made a statement confirming that, if I'm correct.
So, listen, Netanyahu did not make a statement about it. He specifically left that part out of his speech today that he made to the Israeli people. So no confirmation of what exactly hit the guy, but obviously we can presume it was likely Israeli forces with some type of missile that went right through Tehran's air defenses and right to that target where the guy was at in his room. So right now it's kind of speculation, no official confirmation, but that's all we know.
And also, really quickly to put this out there, like Matthew was saying, the intelligence gathering operation that was conducted before this, we already have a very good idea, was pretty much watertight from what we know about the information that they were able to receive. From what we understand, Ismail Haniyeh was a very elusive figure for about the last 10 years, and neither the United States or the Israelis were really able to ever iron down exactly where Haniyeh was at any given moment. But apparently, something slipped. We don't know where the information came from, whether it came from a rat on the inside or just satellite photography trying to find any trace of his existence somewhere or any recognizable patterns, but they were able to find the exact room he was in that building and smack it either with a missile or a very small bomb. Also, another thing that we'd like to point out is that we are a little bit apprehensive to say that it was an actual Israeli bomb. As many of you all know, the Israelis only use the largest of bombs to be able to strike their targets and knock them out. Usually they aim these bombs, which are usually 1,000 or 2,000 pounds in size at a minimum, directly at the bottom floor of a building, hoping to try and destroy the foundations or the support pillars completely and lead to a complete collapse. We didn't see that in this instant. It actually literally hit the room he was in, so we do not know what kind of munition was used exactly, whether it be a small bomb or a small missile, or maybe even a smaller drone that ended up flying into Tehran and hitting the building. But nevertheless,
it is, it is interesting as well. Like you mentioned earlier about these like horror house tarps on the side of the building. Iran is going through some pretty major efforts to hide the fact of who actually pulled this off. I think they've like indirectly blamed Israel, but not a direct statement saying that Israel did indeed pull this one off. And also Netanyahu didn't acknowledge it either. So I'm not really sure why they're trying to obscure the fact that he was taken out rather than the embarrassment of it. But nonetheless, it's embarrassing if Israel took him out or if someone else took him out. It's embarrassing either way.
Yeah, it really is a huge embarrassment, no matter what actually hit the building. And we have to make that very clear because we still don't know exact details about the strike. So it could have been a airdropped guided bomb somehow, some way. It could have also been a missile. It could have been a drone. But the exact precision of this attack and the fact that it happened in Iran's capital was a huge embarrassment, a national embarrassment to the Islamic Republic of Iran, because it is showing that they aren't even able to protect themselves and their central government that is within their own capital. Their defense forces are not capable of such a feat. And we have seen that the responses from the Iranian government are showing that they are incredibly outraged by this attack. We don't really know what's going to be happening. Well, actually, we actually do know what's going to be happening next. I'm not going to fill y'all with a lot of mystery there. War is coming to the Middle East. We are very sure of that at this moment. But let me take y'all through the process of what we saw today with the Iranians that is making it quite clear that they will be going into a warlike stance and conducting warlike actions against the state of Israel. The first thing we heard is that Iran did give the order to strike. According to the New York Times, Iran's supreme leader has issued an order for Iran to strike Israel directly following the assassination of Haniyeh in Tehran, according to 3 Iranian officials briefed on the order. So we do know, according to the New York Times, that the order has been issued to conduct some sort of a large retaliatory strike against the state of Israel for the attack that led to the death of Haniyeh and several people inside of the building. We then saw right afterwards, just around 2 hours later, that NOTAM orders were being issued in the area of Iran. We actually were able to get another bit that's on our Twitter. If you want to see our Twitter, link is in the description below. But NOTAMs are being issued for certain areas of Iran. From what we understand, back in April, NOTAMs were also, or NOTAMs, however you want to call it, were also issued before the Iranians started to launch their massive waves of missiles and drones from western Iran towards Israel the last time. So from what we're largely understanding, this is showing that they are already pre-preparing firing positions within western Iran to be able to fire off drones and missiles towards the state of Israel once again. We have also been able to hear a whole bunch of it. Go ahead.
And also, sorry folks about the lag. We have for some reason tonight, we have a massive delay over Discord. I'm not sure why that is. I think we're having some lag problems with Wi-Fi tonight or whatever it is. But one thing I will add as well, that while the NOTAM is affecting some areas of Tehran, the NOTAM is generally pretty limited. It's not around the entire area of Iran or the entire area of Tehran. So it's very limited to a small area within the city. So I have some doubts for me personally as to whether or not that NOTAM is actually for a counterattack by the Iranians on Israel. It could be for maybe be a parade or something like that, perhaps related to the new president that just took power.
Maybe so, but nevertheless, we are starting to see that when the order is being issued, they are starting to also issue NOTAMs as well. Like Matthew was saying, they're not for the entirety of the country or an entire region of Western Iran or any major region of Iran, but it is still showing that preparations are being made. At the exact same time, we also have an understanding, according to Mossad Commentary, which is an account on Twitter, which has actually been fairly accurate so far about things happening in the Middle East, that it is expected that an attack from Iran and its proxies will most likely happen within the next 72 hours. And Mossad Commentary actually sourced a couple of U.S. officials for that statement. And so according to United States government intelligence, we are expecting that the Islamic Republic of Iran will start to conduct airstrikes against the state of Israel in the next 72 hours. We're expecting them here on this channel within the next 48 to 72 hours, or after that timetable has ceased, maybe several days later. But still, it is showing that the region is once again heading towards a state of war. And it appears that Israel is trying to get the upper hand by continuing to conduct crippling blows against Iran and its proxy forces that have been operating in the areas of Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon. As we've been able to hear today, that an Israeli airstrike struck onto the eastern outskirts of the city of Baghdad. From what we understand, this airstrike was most likely targeting an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps unit or some other form of Iranian-aligned unit that is operating within this area of Baghdad. All we have at this moment is the picture to confirm that the airstrike did occur. The building that was hit is on fire, but we have not been able to assess any casualties or damages that have been caused by this Israeli airstrike at the moment. But it is very clear at this moment that the Israelis are already viewing this situation as a state of war and are beginning to try and conduct retaliatory or preparatory strikes to try and decapitate Iranian proxy command structures before anything can actually happen. Meanwhile, in the area of Damascus, we also got to hear of another airstrike that was possibly conducted by the Israelis that may have ended up killing an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps official. At this moment, even still, we have not been able to confirm the death of this official nearly 12 hours later, but we do know that an Israeli airstrike did occur around the area of Damascus, and that it is a possibility that another higher up within the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has been killed by an Israeli airstrike. At the exact same time, moving on into the area of Beirut, we were able to hear that another top Hezbollah commander was pulled out of the rubble of the airstrike that occurred yesterday that was trying to kill Fouad Shakir, and we were able to hear that Iran's Fars News was reporting an Iranian military advisor, Milad Bedi, was also killed in that airstrike as well. Another higher up inside of the Iranian government, and once again showing that the attack that killed Fouad Shakir was not only a major move in trying to wipe out a large amount of Hezbollah senior commanders and their abilities, but it was also ending up inadvertently killing an Iranian government advisor from the actual Islamic Republic of Iran's government. At the exact same time, we have also heard that the Israeli armed forces are going to be put on high alert, and that Israel has actually issued an official warning to the Islamic Republic of Iran going forward. Israel's Channel 12 reports that messages have been sent to Iran through diplomatic back channels that Israel is willing to go to a full-scale war if Iran and its proxies conduct a significant retaliatory response to yesterday's assassinations that were conducted by the Israeli Air Force. This is showing that the situation is getting very tense and that the Israelis are no longer going to be trying to back down against the Islamic Republic of Iran and their proxies. This is also showing at this point that we were expecting that behind the scenes, the United States is giving full backing to the state of Israel in any actions that they may want to conduct moving on into the future that will hopefully see the Islamic Republic of Iran or its proxies dismantled in some sort of a longer conflict. We have also been able to hear, like I was saying just a moment ago, that talks have been held between senior Israeli and American officials in recent hours in preparation for the response from Iran and its proxies. Israel's state broadcaster Khan reports, adding that Israel is on a high alert on all fronts. But it is of course, a very tense situation at the moment, with Israeli airstrikes still raining down over large areas of the Middle East, trying to knock out Iranian-backed proxies, and not only that, still leaving the Iranian government reeling in shock from the airstrike that was conducted inside of their own capital, killing Ismail Haniyeh. It seems as though the world is on a path to war, at least in this specific area. I have to make sure to clarify that, because we do not believe that this is going to evolve into a world war immediately. We most likely expect that this will remain a regional war when the conflict does begin. But at this point, we are fairly certain that a conflict is going to start within this region, and it is going to be a fairly significant one. And a lot of people have been talking about the significance and the size and scale of these kinds of attacks. And a lot of people are talking about the Israelis may possibly be overrun this time. We are hearing that Hezbollah has apparently been issued orders to start a offensive operation into northern Israel. This is actually a pretty bizarre move, and I'll try and explain why based off of the I guess the frontline situation that we're seeing at the moment within the border area. At the moment, we do understand that Israeli armored forces of an older variety using Merkava Mark IIs and Merkava Mark IIIs have been deployed into this area. While these Merkava types are older, they are showing a very important sign that these older tanks are most likely a part of more or less not the cream of the crop of the Israeli armed forces. It's what you could call maybe reserve units, or maybe more so rear line units meant to fill in gaps wherever there are some. But nevertheless, these units are currently providing a cover within this area. A cover, to once again describe this to everyone who may not know what a cover is, it is not that thing that you put on your bed. A cover is a military maneuver that is conducted by lesser forces of an armed force that set up in front of the main force and give them an area of protection to work with. So let me actually see about drawing this out for y'all really quickly. So we're going to give a very crude drawing within this area of the northern Israeli border. And we're going to include the Golan Heights in it as well. So we're going to say that this entire area right here is the cover force. And so this entire area is being covered by the cover force. So the cover force is within this big black area up here, and they are making sure to try and defend a bigger force behind the lines from any kind of an attack that may cross the border. The reason why cover forces are made is so that way you can buy your commander some decision-making time if there ever was some sort of a preemptive attack that was attempted on the main force, and also it is to make sure, in some instances, to possibly engage the enemy in small form if some parts of the cover become a screen, to try and see where the main concentrations of the enemy forces are, so that way the main force can then kind of rotate or move around their main force and then try and conduct a counterattack, possibly outflanking them, possibly enveloping them, or maybe meeting them in a head-on battle in an advantageous area of the battlefield and then destroying them outright, although that's very rare to happen in the modern day. Usually most people try and go for some sort of a maneuver victory by outmaneuvering their opponents and either threatening their supply lines or completely destroying their armed forces up front. While the cover exists in this area, probably within a central area behind the cover force, probably around Safed, if we're going off of how I drew this, there is a little area right here that is going to be used to build up the main force. The main force is the actual one that will be conducting the offensive, and they are most likely around this area right here. And we'll put them in red just to make sure to differentiate them a little bit. And so when an offensive will begin, the cover forces will stay where they are. They're pretty much stuck in place at the moment. They're not going to be moving, but when the offensive begins, the main force here is actually going to move forward and start driving into one part or another of the Hezbollah front lines. And while Hezbollah isn't a full-on conventional armed force, the Israelis are most likely going to go about this like they are fighting a conventional armed force, because otherwise, for some reason, if they run into stiffer resistance, this original offensive is probably going to start falling a little flat. But nevertheless, another thing that I forgot to mention, at least in early battle tactics, at least at the very beginning of a battle, we probably will see that one of the cover forces actually ends up moving forward. That's when one of the cover units will be given an order to advance, and they will most likely advance, let's just say in this hypothetical scenario, from the area around Metala and straight down the main road towards Borj El Malouk. They will stay in that area and attempt to engage the enemy forces of Hezbollah and do something called fixing, which means that those forces are now engaged in battle and they are no longer able to maneuver or disengage from combat, otherwise Otherwise, they're going to be taking some fairly significant casualties. Once the Israelis are able to fix the Hezbollah forces, that is when the main force actually starts to push forward. Once the cover or the screen has started to engage the enemy forces and ascertain their size and their strong points, that's when the main force is going to pick the most advantageous route of an advance, usually where their forces are their weakest, and then punch straight through their lines and then try and attempt some sort of an envelopment, forcing those Hezbollah forces to retreat further north and away from the active battlefield, and meaning that the Israelis were able to secure some sort of a maneuver victory. Even at that point, even in this case, a lot of people are saying that the Israelis may actually be overrun, and while they may have a cover force that could protect them from an initial assault from Hezbollah, many people are hearing that there may be a war on two fronts that may be conducted against the state of Israel, one by Hamas inside of the West Bank and Gaza, and also by Hezbollah in northern Lebanon. And we also have to consider the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which may actually engage the Israelis in open warfare instead of just supporting and supplying the forces that currently exist in the area. A lot of people
And also, real quick, Enforcer, I do have a question here. After you were going through that analysis right there on the border of Israel and also the other country here, do you think that the attack that Iran will be sponsoring, do you think that'll include ground forces, or do you think it's going to be pretty much a missile-only attack, or a bit of a combination of both?
Considering that they're saying that they want to overwhelm the Israelis, and we saw that the missile and drone attack didn't necessarily overwhelm them last time, I'm assuming that they may actually try some limited ground operations to really try and overwhelm Israeli commanders at every level, not only in the air defense, but maybe even in the ground defense categories as well, along the northern border, and maybe in the Gaza Strip as well. Although Hamas has largely been dismantled within that area, we still know that there are some active Hamas cells within the area of the West Bank, which it could end up starting issues and problems, which means that the Israelis would have to divert more forces into the West Bank to try and deal with those forces. But in my opinion, I would actually have to say, if they're really trying to overwhelm the Israelis, they could end up conducting an air, land, and maybe sea attack as well. We maybe might see, in a very limited capacity, some form of naval drones attempted to be used against Israeli merchant ships or Israeli vessels that may be within the Red Sea, although that's a little unlikely, and that would also require the involvement of the Houthis, because they're the only ones at the moment that are in possession of any kind of a naval drone, and I'm not really sure if their naval drones have the sufficient range to be able to travel all the way up the Arabian Peninsula and towards the area of Eilat, just on the southern area of Israel.
Yeah, I'm thinking personally that it might be just solely a missile attack. Of course, there's always a possibility for a ground invasion or some sort of incursion into Israeli territory, but for some reason, I'm thinking this might simply be a bigger version of what happened before when Iran launched a ton of ballistic missiles at Israel's defenses, hoping to overwhelm it. They were unsuccessful at that point. I'm thinking this time their objective will be to send even more, maybe double the amount of missiles that were sent last time, in the hopes of overcoming their air defenses. Because while a ground invasion is possible, I just don't really see if Hamas or any of the proxy forces really have the manpower or the tools to actually get that done efficiently, or actually to get it done whatsoever, to actually break into Israel. Because Israel is right there on the border. They're waiting right now for them to show up. So that would seem to be a little bit suicidal for them to try to do that.
That would seem a little suicidal, I'd have to agree, especially for Hezbollah to attempt a full-on attack into the cover force that's in the northern Israeli area. That seems to me to be wildly suicidal, at least for Hezbollah on a command level, because everyone has to remember that Hezbollah is armed, but they're not armed. They're not even on the level of the Russian Federation's armed forces at this point, and they're fairly bad off these days. They're not even close to that. The best thing that could be described of Hezbollah, if we had to describe them as any kind of an armed force unit, it's either armed citizenry, militia, or weakly armed conscript forces. They do not have any form of supporting armor. They may have some limited anti-air defenses. We do know that Wagner was actually offering Hezbollah a Pantsir S-1 about a year and a half ago, although that never went through from what we understand. But nevertheless, they may have limited air defense. They have absolutely no armor support. They have very little artillery support. They do have some ATGM units. We do know that. And they also have a small amount of naval units as well. But when I mean naval, I mean they're like ribs and other kinds of smaller semi-rigid hull vessels. So it's nothing that large. It's not like they have any destroyers or frigates.
Basically dinghies?
Yeah, pretty much dinghies. I mean, that's what they call their little Navy force thing. And then they also have a limited number of drones from what we know. And they also have a very large amount of crudely made unguided rockets, which we've seen them using against places like Majul Shams, which has really led to this next escalation that we're seeing right now. So from what we know, a frontal assault by a group like that into a cover that they have absolutely no recon on, no intelligence, so they're just going into an area, they could be running into one of the strongest areas of the cover, and they're going to get obliterated because the Israelis not only have the Israeli Air Force to call on, they also have the Israeli Armored Forces, which are going to be very strong, considering that they're not really going up against a force with a strong anti-tank element in it. So in this instance, Israeli tanks would largely be invincible, unless you're able to pull some kind of a miracle and get right up on them and try and plant a bomb directly on one and blow it up. You might be able to disable a Merkava then, but most of the time they will not be able to get that close to any of these Merkavas or any of these armored vehicles to be able to do something like that. Not only that, the Israelis do have a significant amount of anti-air artillery and also normal conventional artillery, both the towed and self-propelled variants, meaning that they will be able to heavily bombard these attacking Hezbollah forces if they attempted to advance. Once they're able to bombard them and, in a sense, not only fix themselves into a defensive position, but fix Hezbollah into a defensive position, the commanders within that area will be able to immediately coordinate a counterattack and most likely drive Hezbollah off the battlefield probably within hours of the initial conflict beginning. So going off of that, I would have to assume that Hezbollah conducting a full-on offensive into northern Israel would be an incredibly bad idea, simply because they're going to be underpowered and under-equipped for the task at hand of dealing with, from what we know, some armored battalions, or heavy battalions of the Israeli armed forces, and probably a large amount of light units as well. But those light units are still mechanized and have either Namer APCs inside of them or some form of an M113, which going up against Hezbollah, even an M113 with a 50 caliber heavy machine gun would do a lot of damage to a Hezbollah light infantry unit. So from what we know, they're going to be doing pretty badly. They're going to be doing really poorly if they did something like that. But
it's going to be a done game. They're going to be a dead duck if they try to do that. Like, I'm very confident on the ground. All the proxy forces, they're going to get smashed quite badly. The only thing I'm really worried about, like I mentioned, is all the ballistic missiles that all these forces could fire at Israel simultaneously. And that's where the real risk comes in my mind, is whether or not the Israeli defenses can hold them off. Because they held them off last time pretty good. Only like one or two came through Israel's defenses and actually hit near an airfield. And that was not hardly anything whatsoever. That was very minor compared to what could have happened. So I'm wondering this time if maybe they've learned their lesson and they're going to fire a much larger salvo of missiles this time at Israel. And I'm worried that it might overcome their defenses this time. That could be why we moved all of our warships into the region to get ready to help Israel if that does happen.
That may be possible. That may be a reality and true. But nevertheless, with what we're seeing at the moment, and with so many people talking about that, like you are right now, about how so much air defense has been moved into the area in the form of U.S. warships, a lot of people are wondering, are the Israelis going to be overrun in this instant, in this moment that is coming up here soon? Because intel is saying that Iran and all of its proxies, that includes Hamas, Hezbollah, and even the Houthis, all the way down in western Yemen, are going to be conducting a simultaneous full attack against Israel with pretty much everything they have that they can throw at them. And a lot of people have been saying that maybe in this moment, Israel may be overrun and maybe will require a large amount of assistance and effort from the United States to completely thwart this attack and stop it from causing any form of damage inside of the state of Israel. A lot of people have been saying that they will need that kind of help. Others are actually saying that Israel will manage on their own. And some people are saying that some U.S. help will be needed, but we shouldn't go all the way in. Maybe make sure that our response in support to Israel is limited. But Matthew, what are people actually saying about this chance that Israel may be overrun completely by this upcoming attack? And what are you thinking about it as well?
So on this poll, it looks like about 53% of the audience said Israel will likely need some USA help, while 22% said Israel will manage on their own, and 19% said, some US help might be needed. And on this one, kind of like I said a moment ago, I think Israel is going to need some help this time, because whoa, Jack, whoa. But Honestly, though, I kind of find it hard to believe that Iran would go back in and repeat the exact same mistake over again and fire a small amount of rockets or the same amount of rockets they fired last time at Israel's defenses and expect a different result. I really doubt they would do that. And honestly, I think they're going to fire probably double the amount they did last time, maybe a little bit under double, but it'll be more. And last time, a couple were able to get through their defenses in Israel. So this time, I think they might need some help from the warships that are right in the vicinity of Israel. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. If Israel needs help, we're there to back them up, hopefully all the way, but we shall see. But I'm with the 53%. I think Israel will need some help. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that, in my opinion, Israel might need a little bit of help. To be quite honest, I would expect that they will. To give you all a little bit of context from last time, Israel only engaged and shot down less than half of all of the drones and missiles that were actually fired at Israel. More than half of them were actually shot down by coalition forces, including the Jordanian armed forces inside of Jordan, the U.S. armed forces inside of the entire region, and also a couple of other groups as well, including Saudi Arabia, which also shot down a couple of missiles according to their own reports. And so going off of that, we do know that the coalition forces actually carried a lot of the weight last time in making sure that that attack would not be able to make it to Israel and cause any sort of devastating amount of damage. And even still, we did see that some Iranian missiles did make it all the way through and ended up hitting close to their targets, although they didn't really hit good targets from what we know. And really quickly, let me get down here into southern Israel so that way I can show you all this. Right down here at the Nimona Air Base, we understand that the missiles that actually did make it to the air base and ended up striking, actually it's Nevatim, not Nimona, but beyond that, the missiles that ended up striking here ended up striking almost like symbolic areas. They ended up striking the officer's swimming pool right there, and they also ended up striking some sort of a paddock as well, where an aircraft was being kept at some point, but there was no aircraft there at the time when the strike was conducted. So going off of that, we do understand that the Iranian attack, even if the missiles do make it through, probably won't cause that much damage, but I would say that they probably do need a little bit of support and help to make sure that there isn't a possibility that they end up getting overrun, because overkill in a defensive means is a very good thing. Because what if we were to say Israel needs no help whatsoever, they got this in the bag, and then for some reason they actually did get overrun, and there was serious damage to Israel's defense forces, and not only that, the nation of Israel itself? Then we have dropped the ball. It would be much better to have overkill and be there to completely defend and help Israel stop these drones and missiles from having any sort of impact or damage, because if we were wrong in this case, the significance of that is going to be a lot more pronounced than if we were conducting some form of overkill at this moment. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. But still, this is a very concerning situation within the area, and we are watching it very, very closely. We are watching this as closely as we can. We have, of course, heard, and I want to make sure to reiterate this for everyone who's just joining us, we have once again heard that an attack is going to be imminent, most likely within the next 72 hours. We are expecting on this channel that an Iranian retaliatory response will probably be within the next 48 to 72 hours on this channel. However, we are seeing that the Israelis are continuing to conduct airstrikes against possible leaders of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Hezbollah, and Hamas, and maybe even the Houthis as well, but in a very limited extent for the Houthis, and they are trying to make sure to get an upper hand advantage if that was to come. We also understand that the Iranian orders have been issued that a full-on assault is to be conducted by all of their forces by all available means necessary. We do not know what that exactly includes at the moment. We do know at a minimum that it's going to be a drone and missile attack against Israel, but there is a consideration that Hezbollah forces could attempt some sort of an offensive into the area of northern Israel and try to overrun the Israeli Defense Forces cover units that are currently protecting that area of the border, while the main force continues to move in and prepare for a ground offensive into southern Lebanon, which from what we understand is still ongoing at this moment. We have also been able to hear, by the way, just one more recap before we start moving on, we also were able to hear that an Iranian government advisor was actually killed alongside Fuad Shakir during the airstrike in southern Lebanon yesterday. And so from what we understand, there is still been crippling airstrikes being conducted by the Israeli Air Force today against Iranian-backed proxies, and the region is as close to war as it ever has been really over the past few years. Moving on from this area, And moving on over into Venezuela really quickly, I also want to give you all a quick recap. Right now, there is still a lot of riots and uprisings going on across all of Venezuela. We have seen that the cops have been retreating today. Some cops have actually been surrendering, and there have been rumors that the armed forces, some elements of the armed forces of Venezuela, have actually begun to join the uprising against Maduro. We do not have a lot of corroboration for those statements at the moment. We saw one or two videos where it appeared that the military may be on the side of the Venezuelan uprising that's happening at the moment, but we have not been able to confirm that the entire Venezuelan armed force and its apparatus have started to move in the direction of supporting the uprising and attempting an overthrow of Maduro. But it still is, once again, a very dangerous and very tumultuous situation within Venezuela at the moment, and it appears that many countries have come out and denounced the election of Maduro, saying that it was a sham election that was not fair or true in its premise whatsoever, and was nothing more than a show election to make sure that it looked like Maduro had any kind of legitimacy to the control of Venezuela. We have seen other countries, however, come out and recognize the election as legitimate, and we would like to name off a couple of those countries. First off is Palestine, because, of course, Palestine always supports an honest government somewhere in the world. We have also been able to hear that the Islamic Republic of Iran has also legitimized the government of Venezuela, including the Russian Federation, the People's Republic of China, North Korea, and Cuba. And I believe also, if I'm correct, Honduras and Nicaragua have also legitimized the government of Venezuela, saying that the election was a fair election and that there was absolutely no election fraud that was conducted during the course of the election to try and make sure that the outcome would favor Maduro. I want to make sure to keep this in mind and point this out for y'all. Every single evil country in the world, pretty much, that you could imagine ended up legitimizing Maduro's government. So if you ever wanted to see a good example of Maduro being on the wrong side of world affairs, I think that those statements of legitimacy from those specific countries are kind of showing that those nations may not have legitimate or upstanding governments themselves. It really is wild, though. It actually is crazy. The only countries in the world that actually said the election was legitimate was literally the only dictatorships that exist in the entire world. Like the ones where people have elections, but they always just keep on winning term after term, like Xi Jinping, who actually ended up becoming the leader of China for life, pretty much throwing out the supposed democratic system that the Chinese Communist Party is supposed to have, and he's just a straight-up dictator, just like the Iranian government, just like the Russian government, just like the Palestinian government for the large part is as well. It is crazy to see something like that, like Cuba on top of that, and also just kind of some outliers, Honduras and Nicaragua, although Nicaragua does largely have a dictatorship of its own. I don't really know exactly about the Honduran governmental situation at the moment, but interestingly enough, man, a lot of people have been saying that El Salvador is a dictatorship in its own right because, of course, the massive crackdown on crime and the thugs inside of El Salvador, but interestingly enough, they actually did not come out and legitimize the election of Maduro. Which is very interesting to see. It's not on theme with what a lot of people have been saying about the government of El Salvador recently.
Is El Salvador really a dictatorship, though, or is it just what people were saying?
It's kind of a mix of the two, because from what we understand, you know what I'm talking about with this. The new leader that was brought into power down there created a specific law where the government could pretty much apprehend and arrest anyone that may be related in gang activities. They're saying that a lot of people may have ended up being arrested that were not involved in gang activities. And right now, from what I know, they are being held in a detention facility. And I'm trying to see if I can zoom into this. It's somewhere down here. It is. This is that massive detention facility that they built, the CCOT, and hopefully it'll load in right here. But this is the center of the confinement of terrorists.
I was trying to do some. Oh,
hello.
We got that lag coming back again. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Man, there's a huge delay, by the way. But I was doing some quick looking to see if there was any information about the guy, because I'm not really familiar with El Salvador's government, to be perfectly honest. And I do recognize the guy. And I think there was a lot of rhetoric a while back about him being a potential dictator, at least a quote-unquote cool dictator. I'm not sure how that's possible. But it seems like the criticism has kind of been damped down a little bit, or tamped down, because it looks like he actually got things under control in that country for a pretty good bit when it comes to like illegal migration and things like that. So I don't really know much about the guy, so I'm not going to say whether or not he's a good guy or not. But it appears he's gotten some things in the country done from what I'm telling here or seeing on this article I'm reading.
Well, one thing we can say is that whether he's a dictator or not, it would be unfair to say that he has not been effective on crime. El Salvador was actually one of the most dangerous and most deadly nations within Central America, and during his reign as the head of state for El Salvador, that crime rate has dropped through the floor, and it's now one of the safest countries in the entirety of the Americas. So it is very interesting to see that that has happened. All of those people that have been arrested, by the way, are actually being held in this one facility right here. This is the Center for the Confinement of Terrorists, also called SECOT, which is where they took all of the gang members, or the supposed gang members. They had mass trials. That was also the thing where people said he was a dictator, is that they ended up not holding individual trials for these people. They would just take like 100 of them at a time and bring them forward in front of a judge. The judge would say, y'all are all guilty, and then they would be sent off immediately to SECOT without really a second look at anything or any appeals. And so that's the reason why they're saying it seems as though that law may be abused and to make sure that a dictator is pretty much installed in El Salvador. But nevertheless, we have not seen that leader in particular come out and denounce, or will actually support the election of Maduro again. So it's actually really interesting to see, maybe showing that this is only really an emergency act in El Salvador, and not really an attempt to try and create some sort of an authoritarian dictatorship. But of course, this is a one-off instance, so we'll have to wait and see if that's true or not, because there are still some dictator-like tendencies that are being made by the government of El Salvador, but you can never really be certain until the chips are cast, if you want to call it that. But anyways, with that, I hope that kind of addresses the Venezuela situation as best we can, just kind of giving a quick little overview, considering that we still have a lot to go over inside of Ukraine. But Matthew, What?
Roy, real quick. I don't know if you've seen this, Enforcer, or not. I just saw this. I'm checking throughout the stream tonight to see if there's any breaking news happening while we're talking. I just saw a video of Nasrallah, who is the Secretary General of Hezbollah. He's on a video right here crying, like in hysterical tears, about what's been happening to his brother that just got killed, and also the fact that he is now in the sights of the Israeli forces as well. I'm not sure if you've seen this. It's on our likes tab on Twitter right now, but you got to take a look at that video real quick. This is crazy. He's literally sobbing on air.
Dude, what the hell? Bro,
yeah, it's real. He's actually sobbing.
Dude, he is breaking down, dude. The pressure has gotten him in like the last few hours. Wait a minute, hang on. This is from April 8th.
What?
Yeah, this is not from recently. This is from April 8th.
Man. Well,
Man.
It was a good thought anyway. I thought it was recent. Why was he crying on April 8th, though?
Bro, I don't know, man, but he was crying like R. Kelly at that point, dude. He was like, I'm fighting for my freaking life, man. It's like, dude, look at this. Now, this didn't happen today. I just want to make sure to point that out. This happened apparently on April 8th or something, but here he is. I mean, he's losing it.
Man, I wish that was recent because it is hilarious.
And they
this dude's an evil bastard, by the way. So when you see him crying, it's a good day.
Yeah, it's a great day if this guy's crying. Good things happen in the world if this man's crying. But dude, why in the world did he break down crying? Like, I've never seen anything like that before. Like, anyone just literally break down like that. That literally, dude, that brings me back, man, to R. Kelly saying, I'm fighting for my freaking life. Dude, I wonder if we can get a clip of that really quickly and show that, like, side by side. So y'all saw that clip on Nasrallah. Now let me go get R. Kelly, I'm fighting for my life. And so let me go grab this really quickly. Oh, here we go. So hang on, folks. It's loading. You still there, Matthew?
Yes, it's just a huge delay.
Stop it.
Oh, no. Here we go. Okay, so you saw Nasla. Now here's R. Kelly. Now, of course, there's going to be a little bit of language in this. Sorry up front, but I got to show this to y'all.
Stop it. Y'all quit playing. Quit playing. Robert. I didn't do this stuff. This is not me. I'm fighting for my life.
Oh,
God.
Then he was found guilty. Oh, my goodness. But anyways, beyond that, I gotta say, Nasrallah breaking down and crying was a lot like R. Kelly breaking down and crying. I don't know about you, Matthew. But with that, I do have to say, really good stuff. Great to see that, but a little bit old. But we have to move on now into the other realm of major news that we've been able to get over the past 24 hours, which is inside of Ukraine. And there have been monumental shifts that have been made inside of the war effort in Ukraine. And there has been a massive amount of breaking news that has come from Western Ukraine today that we were able to confirm with picture evidence is real. The brand new fighter jets, if y'all know what I'm talking about, have arrived. And we're getting into that right now. But before we get all the way into that lock and step, I'm actually going to do something really quickly. Y'all are going to see the intro screen pop up for just maybe 20 seconds, and hopefully when we come back, the lag will be fixed. So hang tight, everyone, and we will be right back. Hello, can you hear me, Matthew?
Yes.
And how fast are you hearing me right now?
I'm speaking immediately after you just started speaking.
Dang, I think there's still a little bit of lag there, but hopefully it's not going to be too bad. But before we move on into the Ukraine war news, we do have another little question right now about the Middle East, and I want to make sure that we get to this before we move on completely into Ukraine. Several U.S. warships are currently in the vicinity of Israel, and some people are wondering, will their involvement start a war for the United States within the region? And a lot of people have been weighing in on this and speaking their piece about it. Some people are saying that this will be the start of a war for the United States in the Middle East. Others are saying that Iran will ignore the United States completely as they don't want that kind of a smoke. Others are saying time will only tell on this, and some people are saying that they're a little unsure and undecided. But still, a lot of people are weighing in and talking about these U.S. warships that are in the area and whether they're going to lead to any form of a larger involvement or not. And what are people thinking and saying about that, Mandy? And what are you thinking about that as well?
So on this one, it looks like about 36% of the audience said only time will tell, while 28% said yes, that would be the start of the war with the U.S., that is, between Iran and the U.S., while 26% said no, Iran will simply ignore the United States involvement. And in this one, it's a bit tricky to say because last time the U.S. was involved in shooting down Iranian missiles that came toward Israel's territory. So we had jets flying around shooting stuff down, and it seemed to be that Iran pretty much ignored that. So it's really hard to tell. I'm actually not going to build a crystal ball on this one at all. I'm going to be with the 36% that said only time will tell because there's really not much precedent to say whether or not they're actually going to take this as an act of war toward the Iranian people. So I'm not really sure. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that I'm not really sure or unsure at the moment if that would lead to a larger conflict with the United States. I believe that they probably will try and avoid attacking the United States directly, and if they did, they wouldn't be able to conduct any sort of real damage. But one thing that is really interesting here, we actually have a little post that was reposted. This one's from the 15th of April in 2024, back when the massive Iranian attack was conducted against Israel with the proxy forces, the Houthis, and everyone involved. We can actually see that they tracked out all the flight paths of the drones and missiles that were fired, and we can also see the locations of U.S. naval forces that are in the area. Want to give a little disclaimer here. The USS Dwight D. Eisenhower and its carrier strike group have returned to the United States since this moment. So the U.S. naval forces in the area have been augmented and changed, but we can see that there was a very large U.S. naval presence within the area. We could see that there were two Arleigh Burkes, the Arleigh Burke and the Carney, were both right off the coast of Israel during that attack. We also got to see that the Dwight D. Eisenhower carrier strike group was also in the area of the Red Sea as well, close to the Houthi-controlled area of Yemen. And that involved one USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, two Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, and a Ticonderoga-class missile cruiser, a fairly strong complement of vessels right there, if we've ever seen one. There were also some naval ships nearby, U.S. Navy ships nearby within surrounding areas. Of course, these are, from what we understand, not really attached to a specific strike group, but they were just kind of hanging out in the area. We could see that out of all of those, there was a large amount of auxiliaries in the area, interestingly enough. An LCS Freedom class littoral combat ship, another Arleigh Burke, and also a USS Florida, which is a nuclear-powered submarine. I forgot what specific class, but I'm sure someone will say it in the chat. Maybe in Ohio, or maybe I'm trying to think of the others. I'd be damned, I can't think of anything other than the Ohio class, so y'all let me know what the USS Florida is. But beyond that, there were also some other ships. There's USS Mount Whitney and the USS Patuxent, which are both auxiliary vessels. Two more Arleigh Burkes, which were, from what we know, at least according to the map, they were kind of around the area of the Strait of Hormuz or within the Persian Gulf. There was also some other vessels in the area as well, some smaller, from what we can tell, corvettes, and then there were some U.S. Coast Guard cutters within the region as well during that time. So there was actually a fairly significant U.S. naval presence there at the moment, back when that attack occurred, and it didn't really draw us into a larger conflict. So I would largely be assuming that they're not going to be attacking the United States Navy directly, and we're probably going to see that the United States doesn't get directly drawn into the conflict because of strikes on our vessels. We're probably going to get drawn into the conflict because of Israeli actions afterwards that will be trying to knock out Iranian proxies and maybe Iran itself in the after effects of this upcoming strike. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And with that, it is now time for us to move all the way on up and into Ukraine, because we still have a lot of news to cover up in Ukraine. But before we get into that, we also have a couple of questions as well. And Matthew, what do we got?
All right, so jumping into our first Super Chat segment, our first question here is going to go to JR Does Stuff, who put in a massive $200 donation.
Damn!
And huge shout out to you, good sir, for that massive support and for always sticking with the channel through thick and thin. And he said, "Hi guys, I'm sorry it's taken so long." He said, "I work in TV and film and was crippled by the strikes last year, and we just dodged another one. So now I can finally donate. Then I'm clear for the next 2 years. And thanks for what you do, and bless the LSA, and take a live chat, please."
And I gotta say, a huge thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. That is incredibly kind of you, and I can't thank you enough once again, JR Does Stuff, for enjoying this channel and supporting it so massively and helping this channel to keep on running. That is absolutely kind of you, and I can't thank you enough for supporting this channel like that. Of course, I say this every once in a while, and I think it's very important to say it with massive support like that. The reason why we always shout out folks who support this channel is because, one, it's a massive thing when people support the channel, because y'all are supporting this channel with y'all's hard-earned cash, and so y'all deserve a huge thanks for deciding that this channel is worth doing something like that, and trusting this channel enough that you would want to support it and help it to keep on running. And two, this channel is an ad-free, sponsor-free show. Many of y'all are brand new tonight. I know that for sure because there was about 11,000 people on at the peak just a little while earlier. And there's something that's very interesting to note, very interesting to know about that, is that for the 61,000 people who've watched this stream just here over the past hour, really, yeah, just exactly an hour, so many of y'all get to watch absolutely free. Y'all click on it, y'all don't have to watch an ad, y'all don't have to watch a sponsor, y'all don't have to watch anything on this channel, y'all don't even have to spend a single second of your time watching an ad or a sponsorship on this channel that helps us to be able to make these streams possible. Y'all get to get on and watch it absolutely free, which is how this channel is always supposed to run. It is supposed to be a completely free to watch channel that you can just get on and get the news without having to worry about anything else in the meantime. But there is a small amount of people who break the model of that channel, and they're the ones who are able to make sure that we run this channel each and every day for every single person that is watching tonight. And those are people like JR Does Stuff, or Junior Does Stuff, who support this channel and help us to keep this thing running. If it was not for folks like him, we wouldn't be able to even make any kind of income running this business, and we wouldn't be able to keep on covering the news as religiously as we do 6 days a week. We cover this every single day, no joke. And y'all can ask people who have been around forever. Every single day except for Mondays, we are on air and we are covering this kind of news whenever it's coming out. And if there's any really breaking news that goes on, we will actually cover it as soon as it's happening. And now we've hit apparently a severe lag spike. Matthew, can you hear me?
I can hear you, man. I'm looking right now at the Wi-Fi bars, and they are pretty low. So I don't know what's going on tonight with the Wi-Fi, but that thing is just messing up all over the place. I don't know what's going on.
Ugh, don't you hate that? It's always on amazing news nights, like where things are just happening around the world, and we got a lot to talk about, that the internet always screws up. But beyond that, I gotta say, Oh, go ahead.
So, also, real quick, JR also said, he said in the live chat right here, he said, thanks again for what you do. He said, maybe a shameless plug for my shows. He says, NCIS and Lincoln Lawyer. And I assume he means that he watches those shows, or otherwise he could mean that he's in the shows. I'm not really sure. But either way, big shout out to those shows.
And I gotta say, a huge shout out to those shows. I hope that they've been good. Because I don't really get to watch a lot of TV much, but still, thank you so much once again for the support. Junior does stuff, or JR does stuff, and helping this channel to keep on running. And like I was saying, if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep this thing running. And so, a huge.
Oh, no way. No way. JR does stuff. Works in post-production on those shows. NCIS, the other one. That is crazy and super cool. I personally don't watch those shows. I've seen them obviously on YouTube and other places, but very cool that you work in post-production. I bet that's very fun. And also, that's very interesting to hear as well. Very cool.
Oh my goodness. Okay, now it's hitting me. Oh, that is so cool. Wait, what shows are they again?
Let's see. He said NCIS, and the other one was, let's see here. It was Lincoln Lawyer.
Wow, that is cool. So you do like law shows, kind of like crime shows, law shows, that kind of stuff. That is really cool. So I cannot believe that you actually work in post-production on a show that is funded by CBS, on one of them, NCIS at least, right here. That is so freaking cool. I can't believe it. Yeah, that is really sick. What one hell of a job right there. So you pretty much work in the same line of business we do. That is wild. I gotta say, that is so freaking cool. Because I didn't even click those two together from your super chat and your comment originally, but that is wildly cool. And also, now it makes sense what strikes you're talking about, because I thought you were talking about like YouTube channel strikes. I was like, huh, that's interesting. I was like, but now I know you're talking about the actual strikes that happen in the in kind of like the media world, like if we want to call it that. And I guess that is really lucky that there wasn't another one, because the last one was actually, from what I understand, pretty long lasting. I mean, it was kind of a lengthy thing, but still
long-lasting show.
Long-lasting strike. We need real strike. Long-lasting strike. But beyond that, I gotta say, so cool. That is so freaking cool, JR does stuff, that you work on post-production of those shows. And thank you so much for enjoying what we do here, because while I don't get to watch a lot of TV, because I did say that a second ago, and sadly, I've never actually got to watch those shows. I've heard so much about them, but never have been able to watch them. Not a single time. And I gotta say, a huge shout out to you for working on those shows. A huge shout out for watching our show and enjoying it, because that is so cool to know that you sit back and relax by listening to this channel. You're like honestly, that's so cool to know that you work on shows like that, because I know a lot of people watch NCIS. I've heard it a million times before, and that's why it has 21 running seasons. It's been on air since I think 2003. So it's a very popular show for sure. But it's wild to think that you're watching. We have so many wild people that watch this show, Matthew. I mean, literally from beginning to end. We have I think we have some race car drivers that watch the show. I haven't seen them in a while. That was like one that popped up in my head, kind of from like the entertainment kind of a world thing, if you want to call it that, or the sports world. And then we have some generals that watch. We have foreign ministers, ambassadors, all kinds of people who watch, and that is really cool to know that you work in post-production of NCIS. That is just really interesting to know, and I gotta thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make sure that this show keeps running, because pretty much in the forum, JR does stuff. You're like our CBS. You do the funding side of things, at least with that super chat tonight. And so, thank you so much once again. Long live the Lee Spring Army. And if you can slip in a little LSA somewhere in the post-production somewhere, I would appreciate that. I'm just playing with you. I don't want you to risk your job or anything. But still, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And we will make sure to take a live chat question in honor of JR Does Stuff. And so with that, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so from the live chat here, this one's sponsored by JR Does Stuff. Let's see here. I'm trying to look for one that's on top of what we were talking about just a moment ago. It looks like we have one from O-Tubes, who says, who has the bigger army? Is it Israel or Iran?
Let's see. From what I understand, it is mostly the Iranians, I believe, that would have the larger army. And let's see. Iran armed forces size. We're just going to go with a raw number. So their military size was 650,000 in 2019. So yes, they would have the much larger armed force. But like the war in Ukraine shows, It's not necessarily about the quantity of soldiers in an armed forces, more so about their quality. And from what we know, the Iranian armed forces is going to be suffering significantly on the quality aspect because a lot of their equipment is kind of like the jank sanction like loophole stuff that they were able to make since the 80s, and it is really bad stuff. I mean, it's rough as hell. And so we would expect that the Iranian armed forces would actually do very poorly against the Israelis because technologically the Israelis hold a massive advantage over the Islamic Republic of Iran. But on the numerical advantage side of the equation, the Iranians are by far the larger armed force in between the two. And also, Chalmers said Israel can mobilize a couple of million troops. That is true because the entire adult population in Israel is required to serve in the armed forces for a minimum number of years, and so everyone in Israel actually has military training, and that means that if Israel needed to, they can call upon as many of the citizenry as they need, and they have already pretty much gotten their necessary or required level of training to be able to be immediately integrated into a frontline fighting unit without any additional training needed at that very moment. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. Thank you so much once again, JR Does Stuff, for the massive support of this channel and helping us to keep this thing running. And thank you for being a member of the LSA and working in post-production on NCIS. That is so cool. But still, with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat here is going to go to Gregory Albright, who puts in a $50 donation. Also, very generous support as well, and a huge shout out to you, Gregory, for supporting the channel and our work. And sadly, no comment to address. Let me double check that and make sure. And actually, he did leave a comment. Is this a second one or the first one? Let's see here. The spreadsheet's lagging too. I don't know what's going on tonight with literally everything. He actually left 2 super chats, so I'll go ahead and address both of them. He put in 2 50s. The first one had no comment on it, and the second 50 said, "Please stop stumping for money." So thank you very much, Gregory, for the support. And Enforcer, what's you?
What does that mean? What does it mean to stop stumping? Like I've never heard that one before.
Is that like stump grinding? Like, yeah, stop stumping for money. Like stump grind for free.
Man, I'm telling you, I actually don't know what stumping means, sadly. I know an okay bit, but I don't know what stumping is. But beyond that, I got to thank you so much for the support.
And I know someone who does know what stumping is. Oh, very stumped.
Oh, man.
His whole life is stumped.
I made another expose. Check it out. It's so good. Oh, man. It's number 50. There goes another 100 of my subscribers. Boom! Shakalaka! Dude, I love it when that guy puts out a hit piece. I want another one. In fact, I don't think we can let that one lie, Matthew. We gotta have a second one. Let me go check something really quickly. And
I want more, Governor. I want more.
Oh yeah. So wait a minute, hang on. I just gotta give an update. 500 people watching, dude. He's hitting record numbers, man. We hit that in like minute 1 of the stream going live. Dude, this guy has hit it big, and also he's down to 66.7 thousand subscribers. So terrible.
He's lost more.
He's lost more of them. I want him to make another hit piece. In fact, I want him to stop his stream that he's running right now and turn it into a hit piece. I want it to happen. I really do. And so I got to say, thank you so much for the support and help this channel to keep it running. Everyone's saying that stumping is apparently like campaigning. And I don't think we campaign. I don't think we do that. But one thing I do always do is make sure to tell people that we greatly appreciate them for their support and that they are a very small group of people who help to make this news possible for so many. I make sure to say that nowadays because a lot of people don't know why we always give such a huge appreciation and a thanks to supporters like George Albright, who's telling us to not do that. But the reason why we do that is because people may or may not know we don't make a single dime running the stream. Like, we don't make any money off of ads. We don't make a single dime when this thing goes live on air. The only way that we can make a dime and do this as a job is through people supporting the channel in a super chat, like George Albright or Junior Does Stuff. Those people who support this channel with a super chat, even if it is just $1, help this channel to keep on running. 67,000 people have watched the stream so far tonight. And just in that 1 hour and 15 minutes alone, those 67,000 people have a very small number, just a handful of people who super chat this channel to thank for this channel's continued operations every single day. That is kind of why we go into such a huge level of thanks and appreciation for each of the super chatters. And not only that, we don't want super chatters to feel like they're getting gypped, because one thing that Haw Man does, you could throw in $500 on Haw Man's channel, Hot Dog Man's channel, and he'll literally just go, wow, thanks, and just keep on going. Like, I don't know why people give such little respect or time to super chatters, because one, of course on our channel, it's the only way that that we make our bread and butter doing this as a job, but two, it's y'all's hard-earned money, and I gotta say this, it takes a massive mental hurdle in someone's head to go, I really like this channel, I want to see it succeed, and I'm going to give them money. That is a huge hurdle that a lot of people have to mentally overcome in their heads, and not a lot of people do that. And so when someone does, we don't want them to feel like we are just completely unappreciative of them spending their hard-earned dollars supporting our channel and helping it to keep on running. I don't want them to feel like that. I want them to know that we truly do appreciate their support and thank them greatly for it. Even if that's the only time they ever support in the channel's history, or whether they become long-time supporters, we always want people to appreciate that we appreciate their support and helping this channel to keep on running. But still, thank you so much once again for support, George Albright, and helping this channel to keep on running. We will keep stumping for money, if you put it that way. But with that, we are on to the last question, and I believe we actually know who that is. I think they just came in, Matthew, but what do we got?
So yes, they just rolled in. It's Kimberly Brokaw, who put in a very generous $100 donation. Massive support tonight, and thank you all for that, and especially to Kimberly Brokaw as well for that very generous support. Sadly, though, no comment to address. Just a big red block on the YouTube live chat that says Kimberly Brokaw on it. But of course, we appreciate that very much, and that helps keep the work running, and it is very, very much appreciated. But Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta say a huge shout out to Kimberly Brokaw and that unbelievable support. I gotta say, thank you so much. You didn't throw in a comment, but the support means a lot, and you've been around forever. If y'all don't know, Kimberly Brokaw has been around for about as long as BC Skyman has been around, and I gotta say that it is always incredible to see folks like Kimberly Brokaw still around. I gotta thank you massively so much for supporting the channel again, and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be here. We wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And also, Matthew, it appears that a lot of people have seen the mental basket case that Hot Dog Man is. I'm seeing that in the chat. A lot of people are like, I saw the Hot Dog Man thing, and it was like a mental basket case. It really is. I feel sorry for the guy. I feel like he should use some of the money that his viewers give him to pay for free trips to Ukraine. I feel like he should use that money for some mental counseling or some therapy or something, because I don't know what's wrong with that guy, but he really does have some severe issues. Like I would say, like, some people, like, I'm not saying it's like a mental illness. I'm saying the guy is insufferable and he needs to go talk to a professional, because only a professional can help that guy out at this point. I think he's so far gone and so far lost. He really does need some true professional help.
I have a feeling that if you took him to the doctor, they'd be like, "Oh dear, I've never seen quite a condition like this. It's not in the textbooks. We're going to put his face next to insanity and put him in a textbook."
No, man, they're going to sit there and put his picture right next to Dr. Disrespect. It's going to be a spot the difference picture.
Oh man, you stop it.
Oh, did you notice though, he was growing out the goatee again after I made that comment, because he was clean shaving it for about a week until I saw it, and I was like, ew, and now he's growing it back out. It's like, dude, it's like that's right why he made the hit piece, man. He was like, it's not a Dr. Disrespect mustache, and then he put out that video or whatever it was.
He's the type of guy to say, when your idols become your rivals. Oh man, I've hit the big leagues. Shiver me timbers.
Dude, he's probably sitting there going, started from the bottom, now we're here. And it's literally just the bottom. Like, he started at the bottom, he climbed up a little bit, and then blew it up, and then dropped straight back down to the bottom. And he's like, started. Man,
he's drilling down to bedrock now. He's going down deep.
Dude, I've heard that his new phrase on his channel is yabba-dabba-doo, because he be digging up that bedrock, my boy. But anyways, goodness gracious, I gotta say, what a one hell of a thing that's going on over there. But still, with that, I gotta say, huge thank you so much once again, Kimberly Brokaw, for the support. I hope you enjoyed that fairly well, at least that little riffing session. But still, massive shout out, massive thanks to you. And of course, thank you for being an old guard and helping this channel to keep rolling. And with that, it is now time for us to move on into the Ukraine war news. We have a load to cover here. Like, we cover the Middle East first, because to underplay the severity of things that happened inside of Ukraine overnight, like, no joke. Dang it, man, the stream flatlined! Oh,
No,
okay.
man, I felt the lag when it came in. I was like, "Are you kidding me? It's happening again." Like, I don't know what's going on, man. There's nothing that should be causing this, like no bad weather or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like anytime there's a big stream, though, like you said earlier, it happens like this.
It always does. I don't know why. It's so aggravating. But also, I like how, Matthew, when I look down for like the weather, it just has a torch and it says swimming. Like, I don't know if that's like hot or cold, but apparently the weather is swimming. I know I'm
Maybe it's
joking.
a
It's
heat advisory, I think.
it may be something like that, but but I'm just kidding with y'all, by the way. That's for the Paris Olympics because the swimming is going on. Are they still swimming in the Seine, Matthew? Are they going to actually subject people to swimming in that damn river?
Swimming in the Seine. It's literally in the name. It's a sin to swim in that cesspool there.
Man, I want that blue guy to hop in there. Like I want
Oh,
him in there. Like
what guy? What guy? I don't know. The Olympics people told me it's copyrighted. I can't see it anymore. Where'd it go? They're hiding that very, very closely.
dude, that whole opening ceremony literally like disappeared off the internet. You can't even find it anywhere anymore. Like it's like that went badly. Like I'm just gonna say that now past tense because it really did go that badly. It went so badly they nuked it off the internet. Like you just can't find it anywhere. But they had some blue guy out there if y'all didn't see it. And like he was on a platter and they like lifted up the platter and there's just this guy like blue guy with a red beard in the middle of a plate of fruit. And he's like, "Sacre bleu, a didgeridoo," and I'm like, "What the hell is that?
Man.
Like, what is this? Like, it's like, what is
Worst
that?"
Olympics opening ceremony I've ever seen in my life. It was weird as hell, and wouldn't want to see that again. It's like I want the one. There's been impressive ones, like the one I believe that was in Beijing that had like 2008 guys hitting the drums at the same time and stuff like that. Greece also had a really cool opening as well. Like they had like the statues started moving and stuff like that as they were like moving the camera along. That French one was just whacked out and weird, and I don't know what was up with that, but it was not good.
But really, I'm not gonna lie, all of them were cool, but this one, like the London 2012 Olympics opening was so cool because it like showed like Britain's history like in motion, like how they switched from like it being the Celts to the Anglo-Saxons and then to the Industrial Revolution, and then they showed off some of the really cool stuff of Britain, Harry Potter, which was really popular at the time, so they included a little bit of that. And then they had the Queen skydive out of a helicopter. I mean, the whole thing was really cool. It was like this is pretty neat. I like this opening ceremony. And then
I just like how the French one went from here's some blue naked guy right here in this bowl over here that we're lifting up the top on,
Yeah.
and over here is Snoop Dogg. He's like, hello. It's like, what the hell's going on? It's like it's the most chaotic thing ever.
and then the one thing that was like weird to me was like what was up. Like they say that the horse person was supposed to be Joan of Arc. It's like, but it was like a faceless person. It's like, how in the world is anyone supposed to get that out of it? Like, I don't know. Like that whole thing was like, I don't even know what the hell they were getting at here, but they nuked it off the internet because I don't think anyone was getting it. And I think a lot of people were very unhappy with it. So I think everyone learned their lesson from that one. It's going to probably not be on the lines of making a stupid Olympics opening anymore. Everyone's probably just going to go back to the classics, which is, just like kind of like showing how great your country is, like Britain and everyone else did when they were hosting the Olympics, like America did back when we held the Olympics a couple of times. But anyways, moving on from that and on into Kursk, we did get to see that some major damage was inflicted upon the city. I want to show y'all the clip right here. Now, some have actually debated what we're seeing here on clip. Some have been saying this was actually the Ukrainian strike on Kursk. I said that this was what happened when Kim Jong-un fell on his ass during the diplomatic visit to Russia, and then we got to see the footage today. But here it is. Or better yet, that might be, well, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to hold back on that. But we did get to find out what those explosions were today. One, we got to see that on the firm's satellite, there is a fire ongoing currently near the Kursk military airfield, which may suggest that it was actually hit. In fact, the fire marker, if I can get y'all down here to Koisk, is actually on this little ammunition storage area kind of perimeter down here near the airfield, which is very interesting to see because it is suggesting that maybe that hit was directly on that building. Meanwhile, we also got to see on another side of the city that there was an ammo depot hit inside of the city of Koisk. Check this out. That is a pretty significant explosion right there.
That looks like a lot of stuff blowing up at the same time. A very big explosion. It's tremendous. Not very good.
Man, I'm telling you, man, it's pretty nice. Pretty nice to see. And moving on down into the southern side, we also got to see some damage to some oil depots now near a train station in southern Kursk as well. We actually got to see the geolocation of that, but I didn't put it there because why would I? I just put it near Kursk because it all happened in the Kursk Oblast, and the exact location on this strike doesn't really matter as far as news reporting purposes. But still, really nice to see that the Ukrainians were able to hit a lot of targets within the city of Kursk. Well, that moves us on to something else that happened overnight. The largest drone attack ever in the history of warfare, at least in conventional war outside of Iran strike, happened last night. It was the largest air attack in the history of the war in Ukraine, and this was the air report that we got from last night of the confirmed drones that were shot down. 89 Shahed 136s were shot down. This is now the record for the number of drones that was shot down by Ukraine in a single night's stint. And also, one X-59 was also destroyed as well, but that's kind of a small side note compared to the 89 Shahed 136s that were shot down. I have not been able to ascertain an exact number yet to the total number of drones that came in, but from what we know, Ukrainian air defense did end up shooting down the large majority of them. It is still shocking, though, to see this kind of a number of drones being used in the strikes, but we did get to see Ukrainian air defense working hard. We actually got to see what appeared to be a vampire system shooting down one drone near to the Kyiv air defense perimeter. We can see the missile fired right there. We're about to see it impact. Right there. There's the Shahed, and it blows up in like some sort of a nuclear fireball, and that thing is out. Aw, man. I've never seen anything blow up this hard since my channel. Aw, man. Aw, man. Next up, we got to see a Shahed get intercepted. This was actually a video from the commander of the Ukrainian Air Force, Petro Oleshuk. Aw, man.
Check in, chat. Check in.
Check in, chat. What's going... Dude, when your chat is so dead, you literally have to ask them to check in. Like, it's
like, bro, it's like, it's not a hotel, it's a stream. It's like, why are they checking in?
Dude, we need like a hotel bell so that way when we do it, we can be like, ding, ding, check in, chat, and check in. But
Yeah.
we can see the drone in a tailspin right here, coming straight down to the ground. Aw, man, it's about to hit the ground. Aw, man. There we go. What a day. Ukrainian air defense is working so hard. Aw, man, it's working about as hard as I do when I go to Ukraine and I bounce from bar to bar every hour. Aw, man, walking down the streets really freaking hard. Aw, but anyways, moving on from that and down into the major western city of Lviv. We actually have something else to talk about before we get to that, because I gotta kind of pull y'all along here for just a moment, because we do have something else to talk about really quickly, because this is the big news of the day in Lviv. Like, it's going to be massive, so make sure to keep on bated breath, because I'm about to tell y'all like the biggest thing in the war so far, the thing that everyone has been waiting for, and it happened. Y'all know what it is already, but I'm going to hold off on officially saying it, because we do have a question about the Middle East, and I thought it was a good question. I mean, I don't know about y'all, so I feel like it's a good time to ask it. What is the likelihood of nuclear weapons usage if Israel or Iran was to begin to face defeat? What are y'all thinking about? Do y'all think that this is a high likelihood, a somewhat middling likelihood, or a very low likelihood? Matthew, what are people thinking about that? What are you thinking about it? And what am I thinking about it?
So the most popular option here, 34% of the audience said it's a very low likelihood of nukes being used, even if one side or the other really got down to facing defeat, while 23% said there's a very high likelihood, and 24% says somewhat low, and 19% says somewhat high. So it looks like the majority of people probably say it's somewhat low or very low. And I would have to probably agree with that. Unless something really drastic happened where one country was on the verge of being destroyed, then they might whip out the nuclear weapons. But nobody's really anxious to start lobbing those at each other. Now, I say that with a caveat, though, because Iran is a very, very unstable country with a nutcase in charge of it. And they just apparently got nuclear weapons maybe this week or maybe last week, if the intelligence was correct. So they might be more apt to use it because they just got it, and they might want to test it out. That doesn't mean it's really likely, in my opinion. It's probably still somewhat low of a likelihood, but it does raise it a little bit. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that, in my opinion, I think that the likelihood of a nuclear weapon being used is probably going to be fairly low. The Israelis will probably start to get the upper hand immediately, and they're probably also going to conduct airstrikes on the Iranian nuclear weapon development facilities. We already saw that they were able to hit Tehran with a great deal of ease. So I have a feeling they'd probably be able to hit the nuclear research facilities with a great deal of ease as well if they really put themselves in some effort into that kind of an idea. So I would assume that the use of nuclear weapons is going to be a very low likelihood in this upcoming conflict. And also, that honestly, man, this sounds like we're getting ready for a new update to drop or something. We're like in the upcoming conflict. It's coming around the corner. It's really weird to see something like this because very rarely do you ever really get to see like an undoubtedly inevitable war happen. Like, we know at this point it's only days away that a full-on conflict's probably going to start beginning in the Middle East, and it's really wild to talk about it like that. We're talking about everything in a pretense, like, you know, it's like everything is about to happen, and so what is going to happen? That's bizarre, but still, I would say it's a
lot different than last time, for sure, because last time we were debating whether or not something was going to happen. We were talking about, is Iran really going to retaliate against Israel? They might or might not, and it turns out they did, but it was really not that bad as we thought it was going to be. But like you said, this time, it's like a guarantee. The order has been issued. The U.S. says it's going to happen in 72 hours. The U.S. has also told people do not... can you hear me, by the way?
Yes, I can, yes.
Okay, everything on my computer just went dark for a minute. I don't know what happened with that. But the U.S. also told everybody, do not travel to Lebanon. If you're there, escape immediately. And all the flights have been canceled. So, like, literally every single indicator that could exist to tell people that something is definitely going to happen, they're literally all there this time. Even direct orders from the Iranian leaders themselves. So, yeah, it is wild to see. Like, we're basically just waiting to see what happens, but something is definitely going to happen. And it sounds like it's going to be larger than last time.
I would agree with that completely. And with that, we are now going to be moving on from that poll because we have to move on now into that big news that you all have been waiting for. Let me show y'all a picture of one of these really quickly before I actually tell y'all the big news, because I know that all of y'all are going to be really excited when I show you this picture. Hey,
look at that! It's beautiful.
They're here! They're there! They're at Lviv! They finally arrived. This is a picture of an actual Ukrainian F-16. No markings from what we can tell, but it is a real Ukrainian Air Force F-16 that was flying over Lviv today. And that's not the only picture we got. We got a second picture from Lviv, another F-16.
That's the real one. That's the real one. The last one turned out to be a fake. Like, I think someone put it out there on Twitter, and everybody was like, oh, we're sorry. After posting it a little bit, it was fake. But this is the actual real one right here above Lviv.
Oh, no, Matthew. I pulled there's drone footage from the Black Sea, and it was literally fake as hell. I'm so sorry, everyone.
See, we correct it live, though. We don't just wait. Like, also on the Nasrallah crying thing as well. Like, we're fact-checking live when we show it, so we're not waiting, and then, like, a week later, we decide to say, oh, yeah, guys, you remember, like, a week ago? I know y'all don't remember it, but I was wrong.
Well, I don't even think anyone came out and made a statement on that. It was just wrong, and no one ever came out and corrected it, I don't think. Like, you know, like, am I right with that, or no?
I think he did eventually, but it was real half-hearted and really late.
And yeah, I mean, you know, some people don't like to admit that we're wrong. We're more than happy to admit we're wrong. So we're actually going to be nuking the other post right here. Boom, it's gone. So that's misinformation. But this is an F-16. It's over the skies of Lviv. It's crazy to see that because it's been a fantasy almost at this point that an F-16 would ever fly over Ukrainian skies. But it actually is happening now. They are actually flying in Ukraine. From what we understand, I think they said there's 8 of them inside of Ukraine as of right now. Like, they confirmed, I think, 8 of them.
I think there's actually 6 there right now, but pretty close.
Well, I mean, shit. It's like, I mean, you know, what can I say? You know, we can only get things right some of the time. But beyond that, it is wonderful to see the F-16s there. I don't even have to go into more than that. Y'all know what this is about. Y'all know what the F-16s are capable of. Y'all know why I'm saying that it's certainly going to be game-changing for Ukraine. And let me quickly go into that, because there's a bunch of stupid people out there who do not know what the word or the phrase game-changing means. Game-changing doesn't mean it's going to win the game. It just means that it changes how you play the game. A lot of people don't know the differentiation in between that. This isn't a war-winning vehicle. This is a game-changing or a war-changing vehicle. It's not going to be winning the war single-handedly for Ukraine. It isn't going to be completely impervious or invincible to ground fire or anti-air fire of any kind for that matter. It is going to be a aircraft like every other that has been in Ukrainian service so far. But there are some things that it can do that other Soviet-era aircraft in the Ukrainian Air Force cannot do. It can conduct proper anti-radar missions, to just say it that way. The real name is anti-radiation missions, but it can actually pick up onto the radio waves emitted by a radar, and it can then lock a missile onto that radio wave that's being emitted by that radar and launch that missile, and it has a very high chance of hitting its target and destroying an entire anti-aircraft's batteries' eyes that are able to allow that anti-aircraft system to shoot into the sky. That is a big game changer that Ukraine is getting. It's not going to be winning the game, but it's really going to change the game for how Ukraine's air war has been conducted so far. But if I ever see a YouTuber, if I ever see another one go, actually, it isn't a game changer because it's not going to be winning the war, I'm going to slap my forehead so hard it's going to shove my brain into the wall behind me, because I don't know how in the world they can be that arrogant and completely misconstrue what game-changing means. Like, game-changing just means it's a new ability. Like, if you're playing chess and then all of a sudden a pistol is allowed into the game where you can shoot your opponent, that might win the game, but it's a game changer for the most part. Because what if they dodge while you're shooting or something like that? You know, you don't know, but it's adding a new ability to the game of chess, if you see what I'm saying. And JSM put in the word boob. And yes, that's what some of those YouTubers are. They're boobs. But moving on from that and on out of that little bit of news in Lviv. Well, little bit, I mean breaking news. It's time for us to move on into our location unknowns inside of eastern Ukraine, as we were able to see a little interesting video made by United 24 showing a T-80 main battle tank in operation with the cover of a Strela 10. Really cool. Dude, I actually thought that was the video when you said that, because I started playing it and I heard Strela. I was like, what? I was like, dude, what is that?
Here we are back again at the Pokrovsk-Avdiivka direction, and today we will be filming with the 25th Brigade, starting with the T-80 crew. These guys work mostly like artillery, but they also head out for direct battles and tank versus tank duels when there's a need for it, and here it's quite regular.
In the first mission, the very first one that took place here, I felt what a real war was and how dangerous it can be. The enemy artillery is very active here, and when you directly engage and reveal yourself, God Almighty, you'll have all kinds of things flying towards you, of all possible calibers.
Yes, the Pokrovsk direction is no joke. The crew can fire 50-70 shells per shift on the position, and indirect fire allows them to hit targets 7, 8, 10 kilometers away. The situation in this area is clearly reflected in the tanker's work schedule.
We
get here at 3 o'clock, and if we have a couple of minutes, we get in the tank and take a nap. And then you work like this until midnight. That's it, then you go home. When you get home, you have to reload ammo, refuel, and inspect the tank. By then, it's already 1 a.m. The moment you open your eyes, you're already back here. It's It's the same every day.
Ось поясніть, скільки ви можете нам тут чергувати на позиції, працювати.
20 hours here, 4 hours at home.
Recently, one of the most pressing problems on the battlefield is enemy reconnaissance UAVs. At the tactical level, these wings pose a great threat to units on the second and third lines of defense, as well as in the deep rear, as they detect targets and correct enemy artillery, missiles, and other weapons. Over the past year, Russian fighters have made great technical progress in this area.
Як від них ховаємося?
How do we hide from them? Well, first we mask the tank, and if they fly somewhere in our direction, we're told that we need to hide somewhere. The commander takes matters into his own hands. He directs the crew. We head straight for the tree line, deep into it, so that we're well covered from above. We wait until they fly away. We can also hear the air defense working from here, and we can see them being shot down. We're happy that there is someone to shoot them down. This is my anti-aircraft system. There are 4 rockets in it. And this is my workplace.
No, there isn't 4 rockets in that because I'm only counting 2 cells. A normal Strela has 4. I'll show you. Because some people can be like, you don't know what you're talking about. I do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, I had to put it out like that abruptly, but here is his Strela. You can see 2 cells for 2 surface-to-air missiles. This is what a normal Strela would look like with 4 cells for 4 surface-to-air missiles. These are literally just iglas and special carrying cells, but beyond that, he only has 2 actually in the video. He doesn't have 4, but the Strela can carry 4 of them. I just want to put that out there, because that may have been a mistranslation or something like that in English.
And this is my workplace. This is my console, my observation window. Here is my visor. It has a magnification of about 1.5 times. I can spot targets at about 1.5 kilometers away. My functions are to shoot down all enemy aircraft in the sky, helicopters, airplanes. Now we've switched to hunting UAVs, because there are so many of them. We try to shoot them down. This is one of the most widely used vehicles of our unit. It has shot down 3 Su-25 aircraft and 8 drones. For example, Orlans and Zala.
How do you cover the sky over tanks or other units?
It's like hunting. We look for where the enemy will appear, where they fly, and from this we choose our position. For example, if we have tanks in the area, say a platoon of 3 tanks, we'll cover them until we see the enemy has passed by and didn't spot them, perhaps flying a few kilometers either side. These UAVs are reconnaissance, for example, Orlan, Zala, or Supercam. By themselves, they don't carry payloads or ammunition. They're used for reconnaissance, which means they can adjust their artillery, their tanks, and Lancets, which is a type of loitering munition. It's the same thing with FPV drones. That is, they can find a target, our infantry or tanks, for example, or us too, if we don't spot them first. Our task is to remain hidden, so they don't discover our position, our infantry, or our equipment. If we destroy them, we save someone's life.
Dear viewers, so you have met the Strela unit, and as you can see, it's quite an important job that they're doing, covering the sky over friendly units. And unfortunately, they have nothing to cover them against Russian FPV drones. So now is your chance to support them and donate for them to install a new EW system on this machine. We will have their PayPal or bank account on the screen and in the description. Thanks.
Now, what a video. Amazing to see that kind of work from the Strela, and good to know. Moving on from that, we also got to see the Ukrainian 3rd Battalion of the 80th Brigade taking out a Russian BMP. And we got that lo-fi hip-hop reminiscent beat, once again reminding the Russians of what they once were and what they are now. The tea's gone cold, I wonder why. I got out of bed at all. There's something like that. But anyway, so you can see the BMP burning. Oh, man. Very man said stumping for PayPal. Yeah, they were stumping for the PayPal. Aw, man. Kind of like how I stump for free vacations to Ukraine. Look, guys, y'all supported this fundraiser and raised all this money for these trucks, but y'all owe me, you bastards, a free vacation for that. Like, dude, the entitlement. The entitlement behind something like that is like, that is crazy.
He earned his free vacation to
Dude,
a war zone. Damn it. Don't get in his way.
He earned it by streaming games to 20 people and smoking weed all day. That is that is hard work right there. Moving on from that, we also got to see some mechanized infantry in the 150th conducting some training. Boy, howdy, would you look at that AK. That is one clean AK right there with a folding stock. Sick. By the way, y'all may not know this, but this folding stock on some of these AKs, like this one, are actually heavily inspired by the MP40 folding stock from World War II. Kind of a cool fun fact. Like, they don't really tell you that much, but I believe, from what I remember, it's almost a direct copy of the MP40 folding stock, which is really cool. Me, personally, I've actually held some AKs with stocks like that. I hate those stocks because they have, like, this little bit of wiggle in them, and I cannot stand when, like, a gun wiggles like on very important parts like the stock. So I really don't like those kinds of stocks, but not that bad. And we can also see a BMP2 right here. Wonderful.
Man, it's crazy to see. This is looking a lot more like Afghanistan than it is really Ukraine with all this sand everywhere. Like, even in the last photo you saw back there, it was like they were in a foreign place.
Man, it really does look like Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
Luzi, Choni, Choroban, or something like that. But anyways,
Why can't all the countries in the Middle East be at peace like Afghanistan? I mean, it's such a peaceful country.
you know, something like this. Like, I don't know about that.
They finally have a stable government. The Taliban is protecting everybody now.
Dude, every single Taliban fighter was like, I cannot wait to triumph of the evil Americans. 3 years later, I just wish we could go back to the days before we triumphed over the evil Americans. Bureaucracy is
reminiscent about
terrible.
those days of terrorism. It's like, man, they hate the paperwork. It's like, yeah, now you actually have to realize you've been fighting to take over the place because you have the right solution to govern, and now you're governing, and now they realize, oh crap, we don't like this junk. They like really just fighting people, really, just hurting and killing. That's what they really like doing. They don't like actually governing.
Dude, they sat there and said, we deserve the right to govern Afghanistan. They get the right to govern Afghanistan. They're like, we hate governing Afghanistan. It's like, what do you want? It's like, you got us out of there. What do you want? It's like now you're governing. Now you get to deal with the bullcrap of running a bureaucracy. Have fun with that. And oh my goodness, it's crazy, dude. Like, it is so crazy how they went from being the triumphant victors to now they whine about actually winning and getting what they want. Like, they're like a bunch of kids.
I never thought I would see the day when the Taliban were getting on a private jet to go on a diplomacy mission to like countries like Russia, like showing up, shaking hands and stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
And you can tell in their minds they're like, we don't really belong here doing this, but like they're acting like they belong there. Like at the same time, putting on a good face. It's like we live in a crazy world now. It's like upside down. Like the things that shouldn't happen are happening. It's weird.
Dude, it's like that meme, you know, like when the Taliban shows up to like any diplomatic conference, you hear that like guitar and they're like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. You know, something like that. That's them at every single diplomatic conference ever. But moving on from that, the casualty report was great, but it was a little sad. One Bobcat.
Oh, only one Bobcat. But at least we don't have a bot in the comments over there. We have someone who said Russia's losing. Oh, there they are. They're there. But at least the first guy was right. Perkar was correct.
Hold up. I'm going to have to take this off screen. What the hell does that name mean? Hang on. So they're a gamer just with the letter N ominously in front of the name. Like, I was like, I'm a little bit concerned about what their thing could be. Luckily, it's not that. But beyond that, they said, you show the same thing every time.
None of your data you show is certified by any intelligence agencies.
That is so stupid because it's like it literally is certified by the Ukrainian Armed Forces, which is an intelligence agency of its own. It's like, it's a little stupid to say, but okay. Anyways, 1,060 Russian soldiers were wounded and killed over the past 24 hours, along with 20 APCs, 52 supply trucks, 9 main battle tanks, 30 artillery pieces, 21 drones, 1 MLRS, 1 cruise missile system, and 1 anti-aircraft warfare system, along with a single Bobcat skid steer. It was a wonderful day, and it is good to know that they were able to do such amazing work and, of course, inflict such high losses on the Russians, because it once again is showing that their defensive efforts are working incredibly hard. And moving on up into the Vovchansk area, we did get to see the Ukrainian border guards doing their thing. There goes their drone. Oh no, we got the Home Depot music up in here, but they're about to hit that Rapira. We need a real MTLB, long-lasting MTLB. Dude, every single...
Long-lasting F-16 jets flying through the skies. Long-lasting real F-16s, not the Chinese knockoffs.
Dude,
This is what happens when you deal with the United States. You get the real deal. If you go to China, they give you Alibaba Express shipping with the crap in the box.
Dude, every single Chinese quartermaster in the Chinese army right now dealing with like a J-20, they're like, we need real ball bearings, long-lasting ball bearings, you know, something like that.
We need real avionics, real equipment.
Long-lasting equipment.
Real radar.
Long-lasting radar. Oh, man. I'm telling you, man. But we can see them hitting them hard. I mean, they're doing great work. And we got to see that Phoenix and that Pumsta. Hey! Wonderful to see them hitting those Russians out there. Moving on out of the Vovchansk front, a little bit further on down towards Nizhnya Dvanka, we got to see that they were destroying Russian forces down here in the 33rd Brigade. Check it out. Okay. All right, we're going to be meeting that, but we can see the 33rd Brigade right here. Chad music ensues. We can see a whole bunch of explosions have happened on the field. The smoke is rising from all of them. Aw, man, that's actually me blowing out those sick blunts. Aw, man. We smoking runts. But we can see the Ukrainians are about to start smoking the runts as well. We can see them firing off the crad. And here it comes. The impacts are soon to follow. Right there. There they all are. Whoa. Look at that boilerplate. Oh, yeah, they're getting blasted everywhere. I love it. Oh no. I saw someone, Maddie, you responded to. They apparently retracted their message. I don't know what it was, but I'll tell you this. Hot Dog Man ain't no friend of mine, ain't burying no hatchets. I'm telling you that. We'll bury a hatchet, and then he'll make us look like a fool because we buried the hatchet, and then he'll attack us again, so I'm never doing that at this point. But we can see the Russians are getting smoked out there. Oh, man. They be smoking the runs. Oh, my goodness. That tank was in a bad sort.
That one up. The treads were all off and everything. That thing's just a hulk of metal.
Man, and they ended the clip on that. Like, it's like they wanted you to think about it. But moving on down the line and towards Torske, we also got to see that a Leopard 1A5 was destroyed in this area. A little unfortunate, but I did want to show y'all this because Leopard 1A5s do have a weaker armor than most modern MBTs, and it appears that that really did make a difference in the survivability of this vehicle. We don't know if the Ukrainian crew was able to make it out. I'm assuming they did because we don't see anyone inside of the turret basket where all 3 crew members out of the 4 would have been, but still showing that the Leopard 1A5 with its weaker armor is a little bit vulnerable to drones and artillery fire. But moving on from that and down to the Bakhmut, we also got to see a Russian drone control center and what that looks like. Hello, this is Windows Tech Support. Dude, they got the superintendent's phone from our high school in there, man. Look at that.
They really do. And this, you said this is the Russians' drone command post?
Yeah, this is theirs.
Well, it looks like identical to the Ukrainians almost, minus that superintendent phone.
Well, all like 90 of them that they have on that table.
Не останавливайся, пускай туда глянет, туда-сюда.
Sounds like chaos in their command centers. Just people talking on all radios.
You just hear
Блядь.
something like that in the background. It's like, huh. This reminds me of a Windows tech support call center. Man, the job of reconnaissance units has gotten so much easier, specifically because of the drones. Like, even for the Russians, it's a lot easier than it would have been back in the day. But moving on from that and over to the area around Budnivka, we got to see the Ukrainians repelling a Russian assault. Of course, normal battlefield ambience is no longer allowed anymore on any video. There always must be music accompaniment, so we have to mute it. But we can see the Ukrainian firing his AK out into the distance, and then ducking down to go get some more Bramo.
Is that a Steam Deck?
It looks like it. Like, I think it is.
Nice. It looks like the good version, the 4K one.
He's just giving it
Gotta
gentle
get those pixels, you know what I mean? This is war. You gotta make sure you got the good one.
Bro, you gotta have the highest graphics card in the middle of the war, bro. You need that NVIDIA. Like, you need that NVIDIA something. We see him handing him an RPG. We can now see this fella. He's about to be knocking him out with a fire extinguisher RPG. I'm just kidding. It's a normal RPG. But we can see him lining that thing up. And we didn't get to see it explode. Oh, he walks right behind the back blast of the other guy. So scary. And now you see him firing his AK again. Pop, 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 pop. See him now getting another RPG ready to go. And we can see them firing some more RPGs. What a nice little area in the trench right there. That was so clean. I never heard a war described as having ambience. LOL. Yeah, you know, I think that's new to this channel, but they really do have specific kinds of ambience. You know what I mean? Like, in the Ukraine war, you hear brrr, 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 and then you hear suka, blah, pizdak, and then they get blown up. And then in the Middle East, you'll hear, like, let me see here. I got to think of something that sounds like a halfway house in between Hebrew and Arabic, so that way I can make it work. So then you hear, like, you know, something like that. That's the ambience of the Middle East. I mean, like, it's like a specific thing for each conflict, and each one sounds just a little bit different. We see the Ukrainians here firing at the drone overhead. Oh, they got the double-barrel shotgun out, baby! They got Patton's shotgun out here. Get them!
Also, by the way, like, you know, people actually, like, go to sleep, like, with war ambience in the background. Like, there's actual, like, videos of, like, sleep sounds for war.
Those people are unwell. Like, I would not want to sleep.
They're probably veterans, honestly. They're probably, like, oddly enough, probably, like, somewhat satisfied with that sound.
Man, they're the veterans that, instead of having PTSD attacks, they have reminiscent attacks. Like, they're just like, man, it was nice back in the day over there. And there are some people like that who went to, like, we knew one. They were like, man, there was nothing better than getting a target and taking them out. And it's like, dang, okay, man. It's like, all right. It's like, it's all good. It's like, it's cool. And then there are others who were traumatized by war, which I feel is the most fair response to being in a war, because it is hell. So it is really weird to see people who actually enjoy it, you know, because there are some people out there who actually do enjoy their time in a war.
You know, some people go back as contractors. They just can't get enough of the war. It's like, you know, they'll come back from deployments and stuff. They might leave the military. Then they'll go into, like, private contracting, like Blackwater that used to exist and things like that. Specifically to go right back into, like, places like the Middle East to have some, like, real action like they were used to. It's kind of different.
Yeah, you know, it's really weird. And also, let's see. I'm trying to see. Some people, yeah, need sound. I know, like, we can't get the sound, though, because it's all copyrighted, so then YouTube comes down on us if we try to play the sound. It's a whole outrageous thing, really. It's annoying. But, let's see. The Planets by Gustav Holst is a very good composition, by the way. Like it's a very modern one actually. It was made in I think it was made in 1910 exactly. It came out before the First World War began. But it actually was a heavy inspiration for a lot of cinematic tracks in the modern day. The most notable one of those actually being Star Wars. Star Wars was, I think, completely based off of Mars, the actual composition Mars in the Planets by Gustav Holst, which is really interesting. But anyways, let's see here. I have a friend who enjoyed his time too. There are some who do. Steve Schwartz, I miss being downrange. Well, that is an opinion. Like that is the thing. I don't think if I was ever downrange, I would miss it at some points. Maybe I would. I don't know, but I personally think I would not. I would hate to be downrange. But moving on from that and down near Andriivka, we also got to see the 3rd Brigade in this area apparently under fire.
Chicago, у нас трохи проблемно, блядь,
Chicago, we have a problem. Some shit is constantly hammering our position.
Блядь, якась залупа.
Ёб твою мать, блядь.
Dang, that is a heavy pounding up there. We're going to have to sadly mute this, and we can only play a little bit of this because we still have some news to go, and then we have to get into a massive question segment because not only do we have a lot of live chat questions lined up, we also have a massive load of super chats as well that we have to get to. So we can see the artillery still landing on very close. I mean, incredibly close.
Ah, hot. Suka Bliat.
Oh, fire. Right out there. And now there's an FPV. And looks like they're trying to shoot it down now. Will they do it?
Mace LSA said pounding. And he did.
The Antlov and his guys
You see that when it's on the screen?
Oh,
not that one.
Whoa, hey, we don't allow that here. Get the hell out of here. Moving on from that and out of the area and down into the area of Vasilivka, we got to see a downed Russian chopper. A downed Mi-8 shot down by Ukraine. Beautiful. Love it. Moving on from that. Down on into our next clip down near Ivanivka, we got to see a Bradley on the Eastern Front. Ooh, from Getty Images, give a huge shout out to Getty and a Humvee and a Cossack.
And the thing.
It's the thing. It's that thingamajig. But still, really cool to see. We love to see it. Good to know the Ukrainian 47th is still out there. But anyway, moving on from that, we also got to see a T-62. Oh, I'm so sorry, everyone. It actually happened. Here is a TM-62 anti-tank mine blowing up on top of a Russian position. You can actually see one of the Russians right there. Oh my heavens.
Oh my. Damn, that was a huge explosion. That guy was finished. Like, that took him out in a little extra.
Took him out in a little extra.
This is filmed by t.me/rubpack.
Bro, you gotta... these hoes must be from Russia, the way they rub that pack. Or something like that. I had to come up with something, but... Anyways, that's the end of the clip. A huge shout out to the 110th Brigade out there doing the real stuff. And moving down into the area of Krasnoyarivka, we also get to see a barrage falling on them by the 59th separate motorized. Oh, wow, that was loud. Brigade. Bada boom, baby. Bada boom. And they're getting them. Oh man, no data. What is going on tonight?
We're clear now. Like, okay. It's even the lag is even lagging on the notifications now. Like, by the time you see it, the lag's over.
Man, I hate that. I really do hate that. But that artillery barrage right there from the 59th, I mean, they were really putting it down on those Russians. Salal. And We love the slawa. Matthew says slawa now. I remember when we used to say slaw in unison, like coleslaw. But anyways, moving on from that, we got to see a Russian shed getting blown up. Huge shout out to the Mandalorian unit. I forgot their specific name, but it's an entire brigade, and their unit emblem is the Mandalorian. But oh my
gosh, man, it raised the ground.
We got to go back and watch that because that was a whole shed right there. Look at that. Oh my lord.
What was that thing carrying to cause something like that?
I don't even know. Like, that is insane. I've never seen a shed blow up like that before, but it's gone.
They've been carrying a thermobaric on board? Because that was like an insane shockwave off of that.
I don't know. I'd have to be. I don't know, Jack. What do you want from me? Like, I don't even know what the hell would have happened to create an explosion like that. It was just whack. We're gonna have to leave that as a mystery. If any of y'all can find out how that blew up, I would love to know, because I know that they don't carry around ammo on those tanks because most of them don't have operable turrets, and they're pretty much just used as mine clearing vehicles. So I don't know how it exploded that badly, but still pretty wild. Moving on from that, we also got to see the 65th Brigade hitting some Russians as well. And that watermark in the bottom right, that thing is unsettling. When we see them going for Russian vehicles, playing that music, and we can see them hitting the back of a BMP-3 right there. The Badabush. Oh! And there it goes, blown up. They put a big red circle over the entirety of the screen in case you missed the whole computer screen you have. But we can now see them zooming in on it where the red circle actually matters. But still, the explosion takes up pretty much the entirety of the screen, so I don't know what they're really trying to point out here. But anyways, we got that, man, we got that rub pack down there at the bottom. And oh, we got a rotating patch now. And now we can see a drone. We can see that says Vid Plata.
Oh, look at that. They built out a mobile drone station out of a Pelican. It looks like they've got like a battery down there at the bottom, like a car battery, and a screen in the lid. That's actually pretty cool. It looks homemade.
Matthew's set for life now. Oh, look, it's a Pelican. It's just like, I can tell.
I love it, man. I love like setting up Pelicans to be perfect. Like you see, like, unfortunately, knows what mine looks like. It's like OCD to the extreme with all of our equipment in it. That was impressive though. Like a very operational mobile thing. Look at that. It's even got like the little control things in the front. Like it looks like, I really can't tell what that is, like in the front of the case, but that's pretty cool.
Man, I could tell Matthew was over the moon when he went, oh, that's like he's like that. Like he's like, damn, it's a Pelican. Dude, I haven't seen a Pelican like that before. I've always seen the big Pelicans that they're cleaning off, cleaning the oil off of with Dawn. Like, but
that's a big blade. Man,
that thing's big. Aw, man, that thing's got a beak on it like a hot dog, man. Aw, man. It's got that extra big beak to allow in bigger objects. Aw, man. And we can see the damage from the explosion right there. Pretty impressive. To 65th Brigade again. They're throwing up that little rub pack every time. Leary and his men were up on their tiny post, and they were getting their rub pack.
Oh, man, that sounds worse than the first one.
Yeah, it really does. Oh, man. What in the world does rub pack mean, though? Like, they're putting it on everything now.
You see, a little tiny Tim and his men were on their tiny post, and they were getting pounded. And one piece of eye contact with the boys, and it's all over. So the laughing will not be contained.
But moving on from that, and on up into Kyiv. It actually is time now. An hour and, well, about 30 minutes overtime for our normal news segment. It is now time for us to finally get to the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky. And so, without further ado, here is the speech. And hopefully, it's not long. I wish you good health, fellow Ukrainians. It's not long. It's only 3 minutes long.
Zelensky got that fresh haircut, though. You see that?
I'm rocking that new fit, and I'm rocking the new drip. New shirt drop. Make sure to visit ZelenskyOfficial.com. Get your shirt. We need a real shirt. Long-lasting shirt. But moving on from that, here is the speech. Speech!
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці, українки. Коротко про цей день. Перші наші захисники неба. За одну цю минулу ніч збито майже 90 шахедів. Серйозний результат. Дякую усім за влучність, нашим мобільним вогневим групам, винищувальній авіації, зенітникам, спеціалістам РЕП, всім. Добре попрацювали в небі багатьох наших областей. І дуже важливо нарощувати українські можливості захисту неба. Все для цього ми робимо. І зараз, якщо вже може досягатися такий вагомий результат у захисті від шахедів, то це очевидний доказ, ми можемо бути сильніші і в захисті від ракет, і в захисті від російської військової авіації. Все залежить від зброї в руках наших воїнів. Потрібні надійні системи ППО, потрібна достатня далекобійність нашої зброї. Російський терор має програвати щоразу, коли окупант намагається зламати життя в Україні. І це не тільки наша безпека. Це безпека кожного поруч із Росією. Будемо і надалі працювати з нашими партнерами, переконувати, шукати у світі і постачати в Україну те, що необхідно для нашого захисту. Виробляти спільно необхідну зброю. Це все спільний захист усіх в Європі, усіх в світі, хто цінує життя. Друге, провів нараду з міжнародниками Офіс МЗС щодо підготовки нових домовленостей з партнерами, безпекових домовленостей, а також відбудови в Україні. Ми готуємо і нові двосторонні безпекові угоди, і нові домовленості на багатосторонньому рівні. Те, що точно посилить Україну. Серпень – час для підготовки, осінь – час для результатів. Я вдячний усім в команді, хто задіяний. І хочу подякувати зараз Сполученим Штатам за оголошений напередодні пакет підтримки. Серед іншого в пакеті ракети для ППО «Насамс», те, що потрібно, бо це завжди дефіцит, також боєприпаси для «Хаймарсів» та «Джевеліни». Я дякую, працюємо над максимально швидкою логістикою. І третє, була доповідь головкома Сирського, фронтова ситуація, передусім Покровський напрямок, наші позиції, наші захисні дії та наше можливе посилення. Вдячний усім, хто знищує окупанта і захищає нашу державу. Результативно захищає. Слава Україні!
Hiram Slava. And also, I got to say, I like the new look Zelensky's got going, but someone should have told him, like, flip the collar down, though, because the collar was sticking straight up the whole time. I was sitting there thinking, how did somebody let him get on the camera and not tell him, like, flip the collar down a little bit? But I like the new look. He looks younger than usual in this video.
Excuse me, excuse you. The future of Ukraine is up like my collar.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, man. It's up.
Aw, man. But with that, it is time, y'all, to move on into the question segment. And what a night it's been. What a night, folks. What a night. And I gotta say this, it's crazy, y'all, because we've been saying this for a while. We actually did reach out to YouTube and we found out this is the case. They are underreporting our live stream figures while we're live on air because apparently some people are being flagged as bots. And so it takes them 24 hours to verify that the viewers that we've organically had for years now are not bots every night, and then they add them to the total amount of live viewers. So now, like, every single time we're live, our numbers are being underreported by about, like, 2,000 live viewers, and then they update that in our control room to the correct number about 24 or 36 hours later, and then we finally get to see how many people live we're actually watching. And even with YouTube doing that, tonight, 8.8 thousand people were here at the peak. That means there was probably about 11,000 people here live in reality, which is absolutely crazy to see, and we still have a long way to go. Like, we have a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff to cover, and still 90,000 people have watched this stream up until this point, 2 hours and 13 minutes in. I've got to say a huge thank you to every single one of y'all who's been watching tonight. We are absolutely honored to be able to cover the news for each and every one of y'all. If y'all have enjoyed, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We still have a long ways to go. It's always a fun moment because this is the question segment, so we're not going to be covering news per se. We're really just going to be getting to talk to all of y'all. We'll be addressing the super chatters first because they're the ones who make this channel a possibility and a reality to keep running. We'll thank each and every one of them individually for their support, and then we'll be moving on into the live chat questions because this channel is entirely free to watch. It is also free to ask us questions. You do not have to pay to play on this channel. You do not have to get a membership membership, because we don't have a channel membership system, you do not have a super chat. You can just ask your question in the chat, and there is a chance that we will be able to get to it and answer it at the end of the stream. Just want to make sure to put that out there for anyone who's new, so that way you don't think you have to throw in a super chat to get a question answered. But, Matthew, I understand that we have a lot ahead of us, and take it away, Matthew.
All right, so moving on to the final question segment of the night. We have some polls to address, as well as some super chats and some live chat questions as well. But real quick, I've been scanning tonight for breaking news as it happens, because as y'all know, the world's a bit on fire right now, especially in the Middle East. So we do have some breaking news to cover, about 2 stories right here. The first one says Australia is now calling on its citizens to immediately depart from Lebanon using the commercial flights that are remaining, and they said that now's the time to leave because the situation is about to quickly deteriorate with little to no notice. Also, as well, another piece of news, we're hearing from the Intel Crab on Twitter that amid mounting regional tension, a Lufthansa flight en route to Tel Aviv was just forced by the airline to return back to Munich in Germany. So even now, with some flights on their way to Tel Aviv to pick people up, they're being turned away by the airline administration because the situation is so dangerous. So it could go down any minute, by the hour, or maybe by the day even. I see some people speculating that this could happen on maybe Friday, after or maybe before the funeral that's being held inside of Tehran. So that could be a potential timeline as well. But with that, Enforcer, unless you have something to add, we'll be moving on to that poll.
Yeah, let's move on to that poll. Let's move on to it. What we got? What we got?
All right, so the poll question here says the first 6 F-16s are now in operation by the Ukrainian Air Force, and the question is, will we notice an immediate effect? 52% said yes, Ukraine will see the results soon, while 29% said no, the results will be very limited, and about 15% were unsure, and 5% said the F-16s will be destroyed very quick. And on this one, I'm going to be perfectly honest here. I'm very glad that the F-16s have arrived in Ukraine. We've been waiting a very long time for these to get there, and now they're finally in the skies, which is obviously a very good thing, and it's a good start. However, I'm with the 29%. I think the results will be pretty limited for the short term, because while there are F-16s there, there's only 6 of them. And that is not the number that Ukraine had hoped for, not anywhere close to it. Ukraine was hoping to get 40 to 50 of them right off the bat, and now they've only gotten about 6. So it's a good test run here, basically, to see how good the Ukrainians are going to be with these jets, and at least they can go ahead and get used to them before more arrive. But really, they need bigger numbers to really make a huge difference. So we'll see results, but it's not going to be anything too crazy, at least in the short term. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to agree with you. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy anytime soon, but we will start to see some changes. You know, some people might not be able to notice them, but some people who are very keenly eyed will. Like, for example, a lot of Russian radars getting blown up. That'll probably be like the first thing we see. If we do not see that, I'm going to tell you all this, okay, because this is something I saw with the Abrams, and I'm hoping that this isn't the case for Ukraine. The Abrams is built very well armored, and it's really primarily focused for crew protection purposes. Like, the tank will end up getting destroyed eventually, but it's about saving the crew and making sure that they live. That's kind of like the main design premise around the Abrams. And not only that, increased ergonomics, increased accuracy at long ranges, that kind of stuff. That's what the Abrams is for. And then the Ukrainians ended up putting the Abrams out there on its own, really, without any infantry support nearby. Some of them end up getting hit and disabled, where the crew has to abandon them. And then the Ukrainians go, "Yeah, well, the Abrams is not really made for frontline conditions." It's like, excuse you? It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, the Abrams has not only done incredibly well in the Gulf War and in the invasion of Iraq in 2003, and in every other country that's ever had an Abrams, like Australia, like in Iraq, and Saudi Arabia, and in any other country that you can name, this is done incredibly well in. And then you're going to say it's not that good? It's like, it's better than the tanks that you have that are from the Soviet Union's time that literally have a giant carousel of explosives sitting below the crew, so that way when they get hit, they blow up like a Roman candle. I'd say it's better than that. Like, I don't know what was up with that statement when they made it, because I don't know, Matthew, do you remember that when the 47th Magura was using the Abrams, and I think they lost like 2 in a week, and then they just came out with like the completely out of left field statement that the Abrams just isn't that great of a tank?
Yeah, I remember that. Are you saying that they're saying that about the F-16 as well?
No,
it's not a good frontline vehicle?
I'm saying that that's like, if they use it wrongly, if they say something like that, I'm not going to be that happy with that, just to put that out there, because they used the Abrams incorrectly, and that's usually what ended up getting it destroyed. And one of them, they actually got stuck in a ditch, and then the Russians came by later and caught it on fire. So obviously, you know, at that point, it's almost a complete loss, at least for Ukraine's purposes. But if they end up doing something with the F-16s, like they don't end up conducting seed missions first, they end up conducting close air support missions from high altitude, and some of them get shot down. If I hear the Ukrainians say, actually, believe it or not, the F-16 isn't that great, I'm going to be like, y'all are getting on my nerves at this point, because if you're going to use a Western vehicle wrongly, and then it gets shot down, and then you're going to complain that it's not a good vehicle because you used it wrongly, that is kind of aggravating to me. They did the same thing with the AMX-10, which was probably like the most infamous one that they did this with. Like, not to start complaining or like just absolutely dunking on Ukraine, but when I look at Liquac here, this thing, I sit there and go, that is a light tank with no armor, but a really big gun. Probably good for really quick shooting scoots near the front line. And then what Ukraine did with it is during the summer offensive of 2023, they took the AMX-10 and they went, F it, it's a MBT, and just put it up there. And they were getting blown up like all over the place because they have no armor. And like, the crews were trained on this thing. The French make it very clear in its operation, this thing has no armor. Like, the French know that, everyone knows that. It's a known thing. It's a light tank with a really big gun. And so the Ukrainians then ended up saying the AMX-10 isn't really that good because it's getting blown up. It's like, well, because you're using it like a main battle tank. It's a light tank. It may have the gun of a main battle tank, but it doesn't have the armor. It's like a BMP with a super big gun.
You know, I can kind of understand what Zelensky was saying, though. I think maybe the statement was just maybe poorly worded that he gave out about the Abrams, because it is true that we did send the Abrams over to Ukraine, and we did not install any trophy systems or any drone defenses on the tank. And considering that that's a new form of warfare that's being done in Ukraine, it was a little bit of an oversight to send the Abrams over there with that already installed on it, because I think Zelensky had mentioned that they wanted it, but they didn't simply get it when the Abrams arrived. So, you know, Zelensky has to choose his words carefully here, because it's around the border of sounding ungrateful, and then it's around the border of him having a good point. And I think he does have a point, but at the same time, you know, the statement was a little bit poorly worded. But I think they've learned their lesson, though, because on the F-16, they've already said they're going to use it for support missions and also to take out infrastructure and things like that, sort of away from the front line. So they're not going to be like going where the air defense can take the jets out, because they've already stated they have such a small number, they can't risk losing any of them. So I think they're going to play it very conservative with the 6 that they have, and they're not going to go hog wild with the missions with it, at least in the short term.
I would hope so. Like, you'd never really know, though, because, like, you know, you would think, like, with the Abrams and with the AMX-10, you wouldn't really go gung-ho with these things the way they would. Like, you know, like for some reason, Ukraine has, like, a thing sometimes of treating some of the equipment we give them as invincible. And they did that with the AMX-10, which was a really stupid thing from the outset, because if anything from the West is weak, it's this thing, because it has no armor. And then they did that with the Abrams as well, particularly around Berdichi. I don't know what it was, but like there was like this Berdichi fever that happened outside of Avdiivka, right up here, because 2 Abrams were lost near Berdichi. It's actually the highest area of losses for the Abrams in any area of Ukraine. Like 2 of them were lost here, and no high number like that has been lost anywhere else. And they were driving these things around like they were Superman. Like, they weren't close to the infantry. They were just off on their own doing whatever, just kind of driving around. And so the Russians would start to get artillery angled at these things. They eventually would end up detracking them, or an FPV drone would hit them and detract the tank. And considering that they're off in the middle of nowhere and nowhere close to support, the Ukrainian crews usually had no other option rather than to just climb out of the tank and abandon the vehicle. And so then the tanks would get stuck there, and then later on they would get hit harder and harder by the Russians until they actually ended up turning into burned out husks. And then one of them was actually transported to Moscow, and that was the one that was shown off during the Victory Day parade celebrations. But beyond that, you can't.
Also, they're doing that with the Bradleys too, somewhat as well. Like they're using the Bradleys as like some hard charging vehicle, and the Bradley can hold up pretty well. So it's taking the beatings decently good for what it is. But they're using those in a pretty direct combat role as well, which I'm not really sure if that's what it was really designed for. But at least they're holding up.
Do they use that thing like a freaking kaiju mech from like a Japanese film? Like they send that thing up there and they're like, "Go fight God!" Like they're like, "Go,
hey, bro, the Bradley was made for this type of fighting, but I guess, they found a new use for it. But, it works from time to time. But as long as they don't make any statements about how the Bradley's a shit vehicle because they're using it sort of in a way that they really shouldn't be using it, then I'm fine. Like, use it however you want. If you think you can get away with using a Bradley like a hard charging vehicle, then go right ahead. But, you can't bash the vehicle for the way you're using it.
Dude, the Bradley fighting the T-90M and Stepove, it was like, I'm tired, boss. It's like, dude, it's like, that thing's not made for this. It's like, it is kind of made for it, but at a really long range, and Bradleys are never really supposed to be engaged in heavy frontline fighting for that long against that kind of stuff. So it's really a miracle that the Bradleys have been doing as well as they are, but, still kind of really pushing what that vehicle is capable of. But if they do that with the F-16, and they start complaining about it, I'm actually going to be fairly displeased about that, just being honest with y'all. I'm seeing a lot of y'all saying, LOL, that's true. And it is. I'm going to be very displeased about that because, like, here's the other thing I got to say, Matthew, because you said that, the tank wasn't equipped with trophy systems. Doesn't that sound kind of a little weird? Because it's not like any Ukrainian T-64s or T-80s are equipped with trophy systems. Most of them aren't. And so it's like, why in the world would they expect the Abrams to have that? And then why would they operate the Abrams like it had one, knowing it didn't have one? Because they don't operate their own tanks like that. Like, every single clip we see of a Ukrainian main battle tank nowadays, they are like 2 miles away from the front lines, and they're almost using them as a intermediate form of artillery. And then when the Abrams, they're like, okay, let's just send it straight up into the actual front line, and let's just start driving it around in the middle of the Russians, just shooting everyone until it gets disabled, and then complain about it later. It's like, a T-64 wouldn't have even made it there to get in that position. It would have been blown up beforehand. The Abrams was pretty fortunate and pretty durable, actually, to get in there like that. So what I'm trying to say, though, through all of this, is that if they end up using the F-16 incorrectly, and they end up doing something goofy with it, which will get it shot down, and then they complain that really a MiG-29 is better than an F-16, of course, that's not going to make me anti-Ukrainian, say that we shouldn't support them, but that's going to aggravate me a good bit and get me a little unhappy with at least the Ukrainian government making statements like that, because they do come off as very unappreciative, especially for the technological abilities that a lot of this equipment is introducing into the Ukrainian armed forces that they never had. So hopefully that's a good way of... Go ahead.
I will say, though, that even though, I do see the argument that people could interpret like the Abrams situation as maybe Ukraine being ungrateful, that they're griping about it not having the trophy systems already installed on it. But the truth of the matter is, we already have money allocated for Ukraine, and Ukraine's been sold on the idea that we're sending you these really great tanks and stuff like that that are going to win the war for you. It's our top tier tank, and here you go, use it on the front lines. And then, they get them and they realize, hey, look, these tanks aren't even equipped for the fighting we're doing. And the United States knows that. They have really good intelligence. And they went ahead and sent us this, like, sort of half-assed tank without the proper equipment on it. And now they're telling us that we should win the war. I mean, I can see both sides of the argument. But also, it's a little bit incompetent on the United States' part to actually make the commitment to send the tanks and not send them properly equipped with the proper equipment. Because we've known this is a drone war since the beginning. And we sent the tank over there knowing they were very susceptible to the Russian drones. And the Russians use drones as much as the Ukrainians do. And we sent those tanks over knowing they were going to get hit. So to one aspect, I understand why Zelensky is frustrated. But like I said before, as long as he chooses his words carefully and doesn't cross the line of disrespect, then he has a valid argument. But I think, from time to time, I'm not sure if it's a language barrier or what, it does sound like Zelensky gets a little bit, hostile a little bit. While he's justified somewhat, you can't get too crazy and bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. That's actually a pretty good way of putting it, man. They're very eloquent. But with that, I hope we addressed that fairly well, at least in my opinion, about the F-16s, and also Matthew's opinion as well. And with that, it is time for us to move on into those questions. And we got so many of them, I know we do. Oh my lord. That's a lot of them, man. Oh my goodness. We have a load of super chats to get through before we even get to the live chat. So we are going to start knocking those out right now. By the way, huge shout out to everyone who has supported the channel tonight. It has been insane. And we have to thank all of y'all once again for helping this channel to keep on running each and every day. And so with that, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so jumping right into our super chats, our first one here in the last segment is going to Old Warrior, who puts in a $50 donation. Huge shout out to Old Warrior for that support as well. And he says, yay, it's payday tomorrow. And UATV is transporting another damn failure. And if you got any info on that?
Sadly, Old Warrior, I do not have any info on, well, luckily, I actually don't have any info on a damn failure inside of Ukraine. So hopefully that is a good thing. If you're talking about inside of Russia, I also don't have a report of a damn failure inside of Russia either, which is a little unfortunate for their end. But still, I would have to say, thank you so much for the support, Old Warrior. And hey, it is payday tomorrow. And I got to thank you so much once again, Old Warrior, for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible. We wouldn't be able to keep it running. And I got to thank you massively once again for the support. Because if it wasn't for folks like you who have been around for a very long time, Old Warrior, we wouldn't be able to keep this channel running. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat here goes to Vlogger, who puts in a $50 donation as well, and a huge shout out for your support as well for keeping the channel running and also our work flowing. And it said, no question from me today, so take a question from the chat.
And thank you so much for the support, Vlogger. And thank you once again for helping this channel to keep on running and making it possible. And while you may not have a question, I'm sure someone from the live chat does have a spicy, juicy live chat question, and we do want to get to those when we can, and when we can is right now. And so with that, thank you so much once again, Vlogger, for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And we will make sure to grab a live chat in honor of Vlogger. And so what do we got, Matthew?
And this live chat question goes to Miller Pebble, who says, is the new Iskander 2 a tangible threat, or will it take time for the Russians to perfect it?
It will take time for the Russians to perfect it and also serially produce it. And considering that a major military industrial conglomerate was destroyed in Yekaterinburg the other day, or at least knocked out, that actually produces a lot of the precision-guided equipment that a missile like that would use, the Iskander 2 is going to take a lot longer to field effectively than most people would expect. So I would say it's probably not going to be a major concern at all through the future. It is actually going to be well off, probably even after the war is over, years later, that it'll actually become a viable concern in a conventional conflict. And so with that, I hope that does address that question well. Thank you once again for having a really good question to ask, Miller Pebble. And thank you as well for the support, Vlogger, and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to keep this channel running, and we wouldn't be able to make it possible. And so with that, thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right, in our next super chat here, this one is going to go to Gregory Albright, who puts in another $50 donation. He's putting in a combined $150 support tonight, and huge shout out to Gregory for that. He says, I take it back. I love stumps.
And I gotta thank you so much for the support, Gregory Albright. And I gotta thank you once again for support. That is $150 of support you've thrown into this channel tonight, and we thank you massively for that and helping this channel to keep on running. I have to say that stumping is something that we must do because we have the largest amounts of grassroots donations ever seen in history, and that is something that we are very proud to say, that this channel is completely crowd-funded from viewers like you. And that's what makes this channel possible every single day. And so with that...
You know what's better than grassroots support?
What?
Tree root support.
Bro, it's thicker and it's stronger.
Why it's got to be grass? Like, why has it got to be grass? I mean, it could be tree roots, could be plant roots, it could be anything.
Man, I got to tell you something, man. I hate terms that are used in politics sometimes, like grassroots. I don't know about y'all, but for some reason grassroots sounds like one of the dumbest terms that could ever be used. You know, like that, I don't know. Like, I just don't like the word. I don't like the term. I find it to be goofy.
Sound like it should be saying kumbaya. It's like, what is this, like a kumbaya term or something?
Like, you know, like I feel like that term should be changed out for something else. I haven't come up with a good candidate yet, but I just cannot stand the word grassroots. Like, I don't know about y'all. I'm just like, ugh. That's such a stupid word. Another one I cannot stand, let's see, is, I'm trying to think of one.
Circle back. I can't stand that.
Oh yeah, I'm going to have to circle back. They never do. They never circle back. Just tell them you're ignoring the question. Just say that. Like, just don't give them hope. Like, I can't stand that either. Also, I can't recall. That is one that just pisses me off. That's pretty much just not wanting to answer. Like, yes, you do recall. Yeah. You recall it perfectly fine. You just don't want to answer the question, and you're trying to make it sound like, oh, I don't recall. It's like, you recall. Like, it's like you obviously do, because you're working this job every damn day. How in the world can you not remember key elements of this job? How in the world can you not recall them? Like, don't kid with me. Like, just say, I don't want to answer that. Like, I would take that a lot better. I'd be like, okay, well, you're a belligerent asshole, but at least you're honest, so we'll give you a pass on that. But I can't recall, and I'll circle back to you on that. They never do. In grassroots, oh, it's just one of those dumb terms. I cannot stand it. But still, thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep it running. I'm so sorry that I went back into this whole like rabbit hole there, Gregory Albright, about words that I cannot stand that are used in political discussions. And also one thing I cannot stand. I just want to say this really quickly. This is a non-political thing. This is critiquing both sides fairly. So this falls within my no politics rule because we're not openly promoting or condemning one side or the other. It's something fair. Why in the world is it that one party can do one thing and it's okay, but when the other party does the exact same thing, then it's unacceptable? Like, I actually saw, Matthew knows what I'm talking about here, because I saw a specific example of this in life today, and I talked to it with Matthew, because one group did one thing. I'm not going to say who it was and what this thing was, but one political party did this one thing, and I pointed it out. Like, I'm not going to tell you all what it was and give you a lot of details, but I pointed it out and I said that doesn't really seem on brand for that specific party. I'll let y'all know I don't really get involved in politics anyways. I just know what the brand, like, image is supposed to be for both of them. So when I see something that's off brand, I always point it out and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's a little off brand. And the people in question said, oh, well, that's fine. You know, that they're like, because they're of that group. They were like, oh, they're just trying to get votes and stuff. And I'm like, well, you know, like, does that, like, or should they give up their brand for votes? And then the other side does the exact same thing. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, Matthew. And then they want to go, oh, that's disgusting and abhorrent. It's like, but it wasn't when your people did it. It's like, why? Like, that's one thing I cannot stand. And that's why I stay out of politics in the modern day, folks, is the hypocrisy of everyone. Like, your political party that you support can do this thing that you would generally find irreprehensible if the other side did it, but it's okay because it's your side. But if the other side does it, then it's irreprehensible and it should be condemned universally, and it's terrible. It is so stupid to see that, like an actual 180, because, like, unlike other people who toe political party lines, and this is why I will not get involved in politics, because I'm not going to be some brainless doofus out there in this level talking about stuff. I am not someone who toes a party line. Like, if I like something or dislike something, it doesn't matter whether I believe I'm a part of one group or the other. I'm going to say I didn't like that. Like, you know, that's
called an independent, by the way.
Well, you know, you can call that an independent if you want to in the modern day. I call that someone with common sense that isn't a sheep. They're a free thinker that has their own specific ideas, and they like them and dislike them, and they will like and dislike things instead of just trying to be a follower. And that's one thing I cannot stand in modern politics. That's why I don't get involved in it. Like, that's another big thing why I do not get involved in modern politics, because I don't want to be one of those stupid schmucks that watches, like, the party, like the hypothetical party I would align with, which is one or the other, do something I don't agree with, but because I consider myself a part of their team, I just shut up and act like it's fine. And then when the other side does the same thing, then I act like it's bad. It's so dumb to me. I cannot stand that.
I gotta say, Enforcer, that's a really robust response to this issue that we're discussing here. I think that it's very honorable that you took a whole of stream approach to answer this question. And I'm glad that we have unity on the issue, and that we're discussing this, and that we're on the same page to make sure that we have diplomacy and a good diplomatic solution to this grave issue that we've been faced in the modern era.
Yeah, and also one more thing before we move on. One more thing I cannot stand in politics. Okay, this is for everyone, all right? Is when someone says something about, if you vote for me, I'm going to change this, and they're in the government. Like, you know, like like, this goes for everyone everywhere. Like, some people are going to try and apply this to the current situation, but this is honestly for everyone for all time, because most people who run for president were either in the Senate or the House of Representatives, and they say, this law is bad. If you vote for me, I'm going to get rid of it, or I'm going to introduce a new law that fixes something. And it's like, but you've been there for 20 years. Why are you only going to do it if we vote for you to get a higher paying position? Why is that? Like, why wouldn't you just fix it? Like, you know, like, that's one thing I just, I gotta tell y'all something. The reason why I don't get into politics is because I cannot stand the stupid stuff people do in politics, and that's why I want to get into politics, because I'm not gonna be one of those stupid people doing stupid stuff. And that's why I think y'all are gonna vote for me, and y'all are gonna like it, and I'm gonna do my 8 years, hopefully as president, and I'm gonna get the hell out, and I'm not gonna touch politics
You're gonna
again.
vote for me, and you're gonna like it. That sounds like an interesting statement.
And y'all, and I'm going to step away from politics after that 8 years of being president, and I do not want to ever touch it again with a 10-foot barge pole. The only reason I want to get in there is because I want to do some things that I'd like to see, and then I want to leave. That's exactly how I want to do it. And I think that that's the great way to be, because the people who want to get involved and live in that cesspit are the people you don't want to vote for, because they're the suckers. Well, they're the people who view y'all as suckers that will get them a nice paying job, and all they're going to do the entire time they're in politics is constantly try and get more funding to run for re-election. That's all it is. And I'm not going to be one of those people. So y'all vote for me, enforcer for president in 2040. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to do what needs to be done, and I'm going to get the hell out. And hopefully things will be a lot better in this country by the time that 8 years is over. But with that,
Or it could be like Maduro. Maduro made the statement today after he stole the ballot boxes and stuff like that, and also sent gangs around to intimidate voters. He came out and said, we have a free country here, but I will guarantee you that the opposition will never take charge in this country. It's simply not possible. It's like, what? It's like, dude, that's the definition of being a dictator. It's like, he literally said that, and in the same sentence, he said, we're a free country. It's like, what the hell? It's like, either this guy thinks he's playing the people for fools, which is probably the most likely option, or he's really that delusional and ignorant that he thinks that's democracy. It's like, dude, it's like, honestly, if we didn't have so many other things happening around the world, like Israel, Taiwan, Ukraine, things like that, I would say the U.S. needs to go down there and teach that guy a lesson, because that guy is crazy. But we got too much stuff going on really to deal with that, in my opinion at least, so we really can't handle it right now. Or, well, we could, but it'd be stretching us a little bit too thin to go down there. But that guy, he also, by the way, Enforce, you heard he's going to be fighting Elon Musk, allegedly. Elon Musk challenged him to a fight, and they're going to be cage fighting. But Elon Musk thinks that Maduro is going to back out because he's scared.
What the hell is up with people trying to fight each other nowadays, like in a boxing match or something? Like, why do people want to do that? Like, Hot Dog Man wanted to do that to us. Like, it's like, what is up with people bringing up that, like, stupid idea? I don't know what that is. Like, what does that achieve, really, for anyone? Like, nothing. Like,
Nothing. But also, why did Maduro pick a fight with Musk? It's like, everybody's got their own grievances with Musk and, whatever with that. But why did Maduro go on national TV? And also, Ms. Disa just said it, Maduro challenged Musk. He did. He went on national TV showing his phone and a picture of a tweet from Musk that basically said Maduro needs to step away and let the real winner take charge instead of being a dictator. Maduro took the time on national TV in his country while he's stealing an election to say, I'm challenging Musk. He's a hypocrite. He's a liar, and he's going to tear the world down. It's like, dude, you're literally running your country into the ground, and your people are like trying to throw you out. It's like, don't lecture other people about tearing the world down. It's like, he's the guy that actually tears it down.
Dude, I'm just going to say this, man. That would be the dumbest fight to ever happen in the world. Like two unfit people getting into a ring and slugging it at each other, like one of the richest people in the world, and then one of the most despotic dictators in the world getting in a boxing ring together. Doesn't that sound a little stupid to everyone? Like, I think that's a pretty dumb thing. Like, I don't mean to, like, call it what it is, but that just seems like a waste of everyone's time, and I don't think it's something that should be done. Like, both sides should have enough sense to just back out and walk away, because what is that going to achieve? Like, if one person loses versus the other, it's not like capitalism is going to win over a dictatorship because one of these dudes, like, won a boxing match. It doesn't mean anything. I don't know what the point of that is. But anyways, we do have to make sure to keep on getting to super chats and questions because we have so many of them. But still, I hope I addressed that. Well, I hope we both addressed that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, like the people were saying in the live chat, I would pay for pay-per-view to see that fight between Maduro and Musk. I would actually pay to see that. The only fight that I would actually pay the $50 to see would be that one. And also, that'd be nice if they donated all that money to like charity or something like that. That'd be pretty cool. But I'm sure Maduro would love to steal it instead. But anyways, moving on to our next super chat here, we have a $50 donation from Just Lucky, I guess. And hey, we're lucky. Thank you very much for supporting the channel as well. No comment to address, but Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta say, just lucky, I guess. That's all I have to say. But to be honest, thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep it running. You didn't throw in a comment, but the support means a lot, and it does help this channel be possible. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and this one goes to Cyprian
Uh-oh.
00, who puts in a fill, and a huge shout out to you for that support as well. And they said, LSA, I appreciate the news, and if all four axes of powers, China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran, go to war with the West, what is the end game?
Probably just a world war. We would probably see at the end of it, either everyone gets nuked, which is a very unlikely option, or some sort of a status quo antebellum peace agreement would be made, where everyone kind of goes back to the status that they were before the war began. I would assume that there would be one of those two directions. It's either going to be very costly, but really achieve nothing for any side, or it's going to be very costly overall, and pretty much modern civilization will be ending by the end of it. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, Cyprian 00, at least in my opinion of how it would go, because those are really the only two ways I could see it unfolding at the very long run, at the very end of the whole thing. But with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And of course, thank you, Cyprian, once again for helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and real quick, we got another piece of breaking news that just came out here. We're hearing of a pretty major prisoner swap between the United States and Russia that was just announced. Apparently, according to OSINT Defender on Twitter, Evan Gershkovich, who's the reporter who's been in Russian prison for quite some time now, he was apparently released as part of a massive prisoner swap, which is ongoing between the United States, Russia, and several other countries. And reportedly, according to this on Twitter, that Evan is en route to New York as we speak. So it sounds like the guy might have actually gotten out, which is a pretty big deal because there's been a lot of negotiations happening to actually free him since he got convicted. And it looks like there's a huge possibility he might be out. So now the question is, first of all, it's really good news, but the question is, what did we just trade to get him out? Now, because last time we traded the Merchant of Death, Victor Boot, to get the basketball player out. I can't remember her name right off the bat, but if I did, I would say it. Yeah, Brittany Griner. We traded the Merchant of Death for her. So who do we trade for this guy who actually stirred up a lot more trouble than the basketball player? So that'll be interesting to hear if we ever figure that out.
Dude, we traded the Antichrist, bringer of the end times, or something like that. It's gonna be like, get on out there, go on, have fun. All right, we get the news reporter back. If it's something like that, I'm gonna absolutely just bust out laughing. Because if it's worse than the trade last time, I'm gonna be just rolling over that one. Because the last one, you know, like, yeah, it's great to get an American back, but the Merchant of Death got released. It's like, isn't there like kind of like an equal exchange that should be going on here? And it's like, no, it's like, no, we just trade like literally like Bond level villains for basketball players. We're just gonna send them on their way. But anyways, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. But still, someone said, "Who said say it me?" It's like that's kind of what we usually do nowadays. We'll be like, "Here's the worst, most deplorable person in the world," and we'll get back like this one average Joe. So that's a fair deal by all means. But still, with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you for breaking that breaking news, Matthew. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also to the folks asking if Paul Whelan got out as well, who's also a prisoner in Russia. I did not see anything about that, but I would imagine that if it's really this big of a trade deal right here of the prisoners, then I would probably guess that he got out as well. But for some reason, he's not getting the same news coverage that the Wall Street Journal reporter's getting, probably because the journalists decided to cover it, and that's their guy. So we'll probably hear about that soon. But anyways, jumping into our next super chat, we have a $22 donation from Rick Hollander, and huge shout out to you, Rick, for the support, and we appreciate it very much. And sadly, no question to address or comment. But Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta say, thank you so much for the support, Rick Hollander, and helping this channel to keep on running. It is folks like you who helped to make this thing possible. And while you didn't throw in a comment, the support means a great deal. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Purple Gerbil, who puts in a $20 donation as well. And a huge shout out to the Purple Gerbil. They said, can Israel fight an effective two-front war? And thanks for all the great insight, and LSA forever.
And thank you for enjoying the great insight. And of course, LSA forever. And to answer your question, I think they can, as long as the forces that they're having to deal with on the ground are not that large. They could probably deal with it fairly easily, at least in my opinion. But we would have to wait and see if that's actually a reality or not. But still, thank you so much once again for the support, Purple Gerbil, and thank you for helping this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you who helped make this thing possible and help us to keep this thing rolling. And so with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, by the way, I just want to mention this as well because I just recalled this when I was thinking about it. I heard earlier today that down in Guantanamo Bay, a couple of the prisoners there who were involved in the terror attacks in 2001 reached plea deals with the U.S. government for the first time ever since the attacks occurred. I don't know if maybe that has something to do with this major prisoner swap that's happening right here. It could have something to do with maybe a different swap and not the one between Russia and the United States, which is probably more likely. But very interesting that all this is happening at the same time. And really, we're not being told in the public exactly who's being traded for who, which could indicate that maybe we're trading someone we shouldn't be trading for other people. So very curious to see who we're trading for that. But anyways, anything further would be speculation, so we'll wait and see. But with that, we're moving on to our next super chat here. This one goes to Charles Hazlitt, who puts in a $20 donation.
Hey!
A huge shout out to Charles as well. He said, "Thanks for all the work," and take one from the chat.
And thank you so much for the support. And thank you for enjoying all of our work as well. We do put a good amount of effort and time into this thing to make sure that we can keep this thing rolling. But of course, I thank you so much for appreciating it, supporting it to help it to keep on running, because it is the brave, amazing folks like you who helped make this channel possible, Charles. And so with that, we will make sure to take one from the chat in your honor. And so what do we got, Matthew?
And this one right here is going to go to, let's see, Eugene Minton, who says, "Is there a U.S. carrier group in the area of Israel, or is it on the way?"
I think there may be one. The Dwight D. Eisenhower was there for an incredibly long time, but it's returned back to the States. I don't know if there's another one there at the moment, but if there is, we'll probably get news on it here very shortly. But at the moment, from what we understand, there is not one in the area. And so with that, I hope that does address that live chat fairly well. Thank you so much once again for the support, Charles, and sponsoring that live chat and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat is going to go to, while the spreadsheet loads right here, this one is going to go to Fred Matthewson, who puts in a $20 donation, and thank you very much, Fred, as well, for that very generous support. He says, "If and how and when do you think Iran will actually retaliate?"
They will retaliate. They will retaliate within 72 hours, and it most likely will be a drone and missile attack at a bare minimum, and maybe a proxy force attempted invasion of northern Israel at the most. So I hope that that answers all of that the best I can in the shortest amount of words that I can, because that was really like the most concise way that I've ever put it. But beyond that, thank you so much for the support, Fred Matthewson, and helping this channel to keep on running. It is folks like you who helped make this channel possible, and I hope I was able to answer your question well in a very concise way. And so thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. I hope it does. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and this super chat goes to NoobTube, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, NoobTube, for support as well. He said, "First super chat and longtime viewer." And yes, you are a longtime viewer. I said, "Former U.S. Air Force pilot and historian, just like at Enforcer. Enforcer, you a pilot?"
No, I wasn't no pilot. Like, I was never a pilot.
But anyways, just joking. But NoobTube said as well, "My discipline, however, was classical Mediterranean history. And please take a question from the chat, one that you may not normally pick." And thanks.
And thank you so much for the support, YouTube. And that is very interesting here. Classical Mediterranean history. So I'm guessing that that revolved a lot about the Carthaginians. Let me think of other cultures that existed within the Mediterranean before the Romans, because the Romans will be the easiest one to say. Let's see, you have the ancient Greeks. That's also an easy one. The Egyptians. There were some people who lived in Turkey. I forgot what they were called. But they do have some historical documentation about themselves. The Etruscans. Let's see here. I forgot the Spanish groups. Damn, I sound like an idiot now. Usually I'm pretty good at history. Whenever you get into the classics, though, like the classical eras of history, it is really tough for me to actually talk about, because I don't really study the classical eras a lot. Usually I study everything post-classical era, so the early Middle Ages is maybe the farthest back I really go. Now, I will say, though, Quantum Fighter said Proto-Minoans. That is true. The Minoans is one as well. Really, the Proto-Minoans and the Minoans. And then the Babylonians, that is true as well. The Sumerians, the ancient Israelites, the Egyptians. I'm trying to think about other groups that existed. Of course, the Carthaginians. The Phoenicians are a huge one. A massive trading power in the area. I mean, damn. The Gauls are kind of like, from what I understand, they were just kind of like a confederation of tribes that existed in modern France. But yeah, the Gauls, they would count. The Ottomans came a little bit later. The Ottomans did not exist in the modern day area of Turkey at the time, or Anatolia as it's called. The Spartans were one. I kind of put them under the Greeks in general. Let's see here. Let's see. I think a lot of people are throwing in goblins. Goblins did exist. Like, I'm just kidding. The goblins did not exist. But still, classical history is really interesting. I gotta say, that is really cool on YouTube to know that you're a historian of classical Mediterranean history. I'm sure you could actually teach me a lot about that, because I personally would not know much about classical Mediterranean history beyond like the bare bones basics of like the Punic Wars, the kind of like the union in between the Romans and the Etruscans. The Etruscans, there we go, that's what it is. The expansion of the Roman Empire, the eventual collapse, and then some of the other civilizations that were in the area as well. I would know a little bit about that, but I would not know much. But still, that's also cool to know that you were a pilot, NoobTube, a former U.S. Air Force pilot, nonetheless. And also, we will make sure to take a question from the live chat that we normally would not grab. And so, Matthew, do we have a live chat question that we normally would not grab?
So I'll be honest with you, every single question that we ever collect on the stream is actually always very good questions. I've never seen goofy questions because I don't think there really are any goofy questions. But out of all the really good ones that we have here, I'm trying to look for one that might be sort of interesting that we wouldn't cover on maybe a certain topic here. So let's see. Let's see here. I see one about Turkey, which is a little bit different.
Turkey.
Let's do this one. It's a very good question about Turkey from Quantum Fighter. He said, "What does Turkey say now that the U.S. says it's going to defend ISR in case they're attacked?"
They have gone quiet. I haven't heard a comment from them yet, so I think that they may have backed off a little bit, because now they're seeing that there's going to be a little bit of a conflict of interest there. So I think that they backed off maybe, but we haven't got an official statement to really see if they did or didn't yet. So with that, I hope that does answer that live chat fairly well, and thank you once again, NoobTube, for supporting that live chat and sponsoring this channel and helping us keep it running. I didn't have a lot of coffee tonight, folks, and so I think my words are starting to get mixed up now. But still, thank you so much once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat goes to Repeat Loda, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Repeat Loda, for that support as well. And it said, the Admiral Kuznetsov, Russia's heavy aircraft carrying cruiser, is quote-unquote beyond saving. And is that true, or is it a fake story? And LSA.
From what we understand, it either is true or it's really close to being true, because apparently during the recent refit, the Kuznetsov caught on fire. And from what we know, the fire pretty much ran rampant within the interior of the carrier and caused incredibly significant damage. So from what we know, the Kuznetsov may actually be completely out of commission and may not even be able to be rebuilt at this point. But we don't know that for certain, because we haven't been able to get an official comment by the Russian Federation's government or any actual future for the vessel. But from what we know, it has suffered incredibly serious damage during a fire during the refit that's been going on the entirety of the war. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And thank you once again for the support and helping this channel keep on running, Repeat Loda. And with that, we are on to the next one. Yuck.
And this super chat goes to Adrian Tonge, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Adrian, for that support as well. It's very appreciated. He said, "Hi, guys, and do you think Ukraine haven't destroyed the Kerch Bridge because they're planning to take Crimea, and the bridge would be the escape route for the Russian forces, and, of course, Slava Ukraine."
And Slava Ukraine. And thank you so much for the support, Adrian Tonge. And to answer that question, I think that Ukraine has not destroyed the Kerch Bridge yet because they're just not ready. I don't really think they're worried that much about the Russians having an evacuation route, because if they were able to decisively defeat the Russians on the battlefield, they would actually be better to have them pretty much be forced to surrender, because that means that the Russians aren't able to count on those armies to be able to fight elsewhere. So they probably will actually end up destroying the bridge soon. It's just that they may not be ready yet, or they may not have the ability to do that at the moment, at least in my opinion. But still, thank you so much once again for the support. Thank you for helping this channel to keep on running, Adrian. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again.
All right, and this one goes to Mace LSA, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Mace, for that support. And he says, "It seems like Hot Dog Man earned you some viewers in his crap talk video, ha ha ha, and lost more. And when will you make something great? Oh, excuse me. When you make something great, people will hate. And love Ukraine.
And
And also Mace. He had said, the hot dog man said this. So this is word for word. I'm going to censor it a little bit. He said, I'm going to farm the F out of their subscribers. Not only did he not farm our subscribers, he lost more subscribers, and we gained an extra 100 from that hit piece that he put out. So a genius plan by so much of a genius hot dog man, who takes job offers that he can't refuse at the hot dog stand. But huge shout out to you, Mace. And Enforcer, what say you?
Aw, man. But beyond that, I gotta say, huge shout out to you, Mace LSA. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for being one of the few mods that survived the second Great Schism. It's still good to know that you're still around. And I gotta thank you once again for helping the channel to keep on running. And I gotta say, Hot Dog Man is stupid. I don't really think there's a way to really sugarcoat that. The guy has some sort of deficiency mentally. He really does. But one thing that got a kick out of me is that we goaded him into making that hit piece. He finally did what he was told. He made the hit piece, and it lost him about another 100 subscribers, and we gained about another 100, and he didn't get anything out of it, but once again hurting his channel. It's so funny to watch that happen now, because back in the day, people actually used to listen a little bit to that lunatic, and so he actually would get hurt a little bit every time he made a hit piece like that. But he ends up hurting himself only now, and he doesn't end up hurting us at all. I get a huge laugh out of that. I love to see it. I want him to make another one. And also, they're so funny because he just says like the most unfounded, stupid stuff that he can come up with that has no backing or proof on his channel about us. But we can say things about him that do have proof, like him taking paid vacations to Ukraine in the middle of a war zone on his viewers' expense. Like, that's something that you can say, and that's just literally true. Like, he actually just does that, and it's in broad daylight. Like, if you even go over there, he'll actually harass you to give him money so that way he can go on his trip. Another thing that he does that is always very fun is he sits there and he wants to take advantage of other YouTubers. The guy is predatory, 100%. Because the guy sucks as a YouTuber. Like, he doesn't have good content on his own, and he can't really make any on his own because either he's so cracked out or he's so lazy he just can't do it. So what he does is he tries to latch on to other bigger YouTubers and see if he can get subscribers from the cloud. And if that doesn't work, he just ends up going on the attack against those people and tries to tear them down and build himself up at the same time. He doesn't just do that to us. He does that to like every other YouTuber at this point in the sphere. It's just that we're usually like the low-hanging fruit for him. Although at this point, he ends up hurting himself more than he helps himself at this point attacking us. But it is so funny to watch that. And I want him to make another hit piece. I really do. Like there's no point in not wanting that anymore, especially considering that he's pretty much destroying his own channel at this point, and he's putting in all of the effort. So why not? Like, make another one. I want to see it. I want to hear it. And I get a huge laugh out of it because now, Matthew, because if y'all didn't know, during Zelensky's speech, because I have hardly given a damn about it, and people keep on bringing it up, I went over there and I looked into the comments section, and the guy is getting grilled so badly in the comments section, it's insane. Like, there are a couple of comments down there that, like, crap on us, like, just being completely fair so that we all know I'm not being biased here and, like, propagandizing this whole story about this, but there are a couple of comments where like, dude, the enforcers suck. But like every other one of them is like, dude, you're so crazy. Like, you need to get a life or something. And it's like, that is so funny. And also, he's getting flamed so badly that he's not even paying attention to his comment section because Matthew left a comment in his comment section on the Enforcer Matt account. And he hasn't even seen it to respond to it or anything because he was getting flamed so badly. He just stopped looking at it. Like, that is the funniest thing.
I can't look upon the comments. They're too grotesque. I can't look.
Or better yet, he's thinking, these stupid simpletons are below me. My doped out brain is better than theirs. And so he just doesn't read it or something because, you know, he's never a loser in his mind. But then he ends up coming up with the fattest L's you've ever heard, like, that date went terribly. Oh my god. Oh man. Or better yet, oh man, I'm telling you what, I'm not able to pay rent. I'm not able to pay rent. You'll have to pay me money so I can pay my rent. It's like, where is all that money going? And then better yet, I love this one. I need y'all to fundraise for a legal team. I need y'all need to fundraise for it. And then we never saw proof that he actually got an attorney on our end. Like, never. Like that is one thing that we can confirm. Wherever the legal fund went, it apparently went straight to him, because we never got reached out to by an attorney that was representing him. He never hired one, apparently. So that was probably like the cream of the crop. Like, we can see, like if y'all don't know, like, because the legal process works this way, if he had ended up raising the legal fund money, which he did actually, he would have hired an attorney and he would have paid them a deposit, which is several $1,000s, which would cover a certain amount of hours when they first started working for him. And then that attorney would have reached out to our attorney and said, I am so-and-so and I'm representing Hot Dog Man. And that never happened. Like, it never did. He raised, what was it, Matthew? Thousands of dollars, and no attorney ever reached out to us.
Yeah, I never saw one. If there was an attorney, they were the most quiet, most tame, and most pleasant attorney I've ever dealt with. Then there were zero attorneys.
Dude, that attorney sat there and said, give me $3,000 or $5,000. Okay. And then he said, now I'm going to sit back and just do nothing. Like, I'm not even going to contact these people.
You remember at one point I asked him, because we were communicating over email, because at that point I think I'd maybe given him a copy of the lawsuit or something like that. I can't recall. But he'd said over email something about his attorney. I said, well, give me the name of your attorney then, because I want to talk to them. That's probably more intelligent than you. Let's just talk to them directly. He refused to give the name. He said, I'm not giving you that. I said, why are you talking on your behalf if you have an attorney? It's like, let me talk to them. It's like, didn't you hire them to represent you? It's like, let's speak to them. He would never give the name. And I'm like, dude, that's the whole reason you hired the attorney, is to speak on your behalf, and you're not even letting me know who they are.
Well, that's because there wasn't one. Like, like, that's the truth. There was not one. And it was all fake. Like, the whole thing was fake. And that is so crazy, man. It's like, he never explained where that money went. Like, there was no attorney. The money just disappeared. No one got their money back. It's like, where did that go? And then after that, he says that you can't pay rent. It's like, there's a couple of $1,000s out there that you have to have, and you're not using it for rent. What did you use it for? Like, there's a lot of questions over there. And another thing that's really interesting, Matthew, is that remember that one time that there was like there was something where he was doing something and he was building up money for one thing, and then coincidentally, like a week and a half later, he made a video unveiling that he had bought a $5,000 supercomputer or something like that. Do you remember that?
I recall him buying the supercomputer. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if those two things are related, but the timing in between those two is very odd. Like, I'm not going to say that is something that is what it is, like it is what it looks like, but I am saying that is a little bit suspicious. It maybe requires a little bit more looking into by someone else, but I'm not going to waste time on it. But beyond that, I got to say, thank you so much once again, Mace LSA, for the support. I hope I was able to address that incredibly well. But if y'all know who Hot Dog Man is, I encourage y'all, I implore y'all to tell him to make another hit piece. I want to see it. The world wants to see it. And he's going to finally expose himself for the lunatic he is for the 50th time. And just do it a little bit extra, and he will lose another 100 subs. And we'll love to see it. And so with that, I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again.
All right, and this one goes to Vadim Rosenberg, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Vadim, for that support. He said, awesome reporting. He said, I am Jewish and originally from Ukraine, so I can relate to both stories. I've been watching since February of 2022. So he's old guard. He's been around for a good minute. And a huge shout out for that support as well. And thank you for sticking with us for such a long time indeed. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta say, a huge thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Vadim Rosenberg. And also, that's really cool to hear that you actually have kind of a connection to both stories, being Jewish and Ukrainian. And thank you so much for watching since February of 2022. We try our best to report the stories as accurately as we can. Of course, I do have to give a caveat that we are pro-Western, so our stories are going to have a positive outlook for the West always, because we are a pro-Western source. So while we try and be as objective and neutral as possible, we do keep that in mind, and we want people to know that, so that way y'all aren't thinking there is absolutely no bias and it's completely objective and neutral, and we're trying to present it like that. We are actually pro-Western. That is the one bias we openly admit on this channel. Everything else we try and keep as objective and neutral as possible. But I thank you so much for enjoying it and supporting it, and you've been around long enough. I think you know that very well, Vadim Rosenberg, and I thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Incredibly kind of you. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Panama Floyd, who's a longtime channel legend, and they put in a $20 donation. Huge shout out to Panama as well, and thank you very much for that support. He says, I don't want hair in my hot dogs. And one from the chat, y'all.
Hey, thanks so much for the support. And oh man, you're not gonna be getting hair in your hot dogs because I shaved to get a mohawk like Mr. T, and then I got a mustache like Dr. Disrespect. Oh man, the allegations might be true. But beyond that, I gotta thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, and we will make sure to get a live chat in here on outer. And so with that, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, and let's see here. This one, also, by the way, I was distracted here for a minute because it looks like Maduro just responded to Elon Musk's fight demands or whatever, and it looks like he accepted it like a lunatic. But getting to that live chat question real quick, we'll address the Maduro here in a second. This live chat goes to Sean Moore, who says, do you think that Iran would really use a nuke? If it has one, would they use it on Israel?
I would have a feeling that they would, because Iran's government is so extreme and is so dangerous, really, like when you watch it. They would probably end up doing that. Like I don't know if y'all know this, but when they brought in the new president for Iran recently, they chanted in the assembly hall for pretty much their version of Congress, death to Israel and death to America. They actually chanted that. Like, could y'all believe if another government in the world chanted that stuff? Like, I don't even think the Russian government chants death to Ukraine. Like in, like, you know, like they'll say stupid things to pretty much say that, but you don't see all of them come into unison chanting that in the Russian Duma. Like, you don't see that. Like, the Russians are crazy, but they're not even that crazy, like on an Iran level crazy. That's a whole new level. So I would say they are extreme enough. They may possibly do something like that, and that's why I would say that Israel is in such great peril. They should preemptively strike Iran and try and knock out those nuclear facilities before they can actually get a usable bomb. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and real quick, Enforcer, it does look like Maduro, at least he states, that he's accepted Elon Musk's terms for a fight. He wants to fight him anywhere he wants. He wants to go at it hard, he says. And there's actually a video of him getting hysterical, responding to it, like on national TV.
Hold up.
If you want to take a look, it's on our retweets, on our posts.
Dude, we are running so overtime tonight already. We're going to do it, man. But I think we're going to have to. Dude, he is angry. Like, he's angry. I could already hear it. So let's watch this, folks. This is Maduro responding to Elon Musk on Twitter. So here it is.
Elon Musk, quien se mete conmigo, se seca. Quien se mete con Venezuela, se seca. Elon Musk. ¿Quieres pelea? Vamos a darle, Elon Musk. Estoy listo. Soy hijo de Bolívar y de Chávez. No te tengo miedo, Elon Musk. Vamos a darnos, pues. Donde quiera. Como decimos en Caracas, en los barrios. Si tú quieres, yo quiero, Elon Musk. Di dónde.
Elon Musk.
Bro.
Come on, Elon Musk.
Dude, this is sad. This is so sad,
What the hell
dude.
is going on? Like, seriously, what the hell is going on? This guy's country is revolting against him, about to go into chaos. You have a billionaire saying he's going to fight him and actually agreeing to fight him. The dictator, whose country is going to hell in a handbasket, says, yes, I'm going to go fight you, Elon Musk. I said, what the hell is going on in this world right now?
He turned into the Chinese Elon Musk guy. He's like, hello, I'm Elon Musk. You know, it's like, what the hell? He's Elon Musk. But beyond that, dude, I got to say this. Listen, I'm just going to say this. This is starting to remind me a lot of that weird comedy movie that came out in like the early 2000s called Idiocracy. Like, are you getting that from all this nowadays? Like, why in the world is a leader of a country, whether a dictator or not, getting so flustered by someone saying, I would like to fight him, that they're going to actually try and fight him? Like, isn't that kind
I
of
don't think it's ever going to happen. Like, honestly, this guy's running his mouth to like rally up the goofballs that actually follow him in this country, the few that are left. But I really doubt this is ever going to happen, because the reality of it is, if Musk would never actually go down there, first of all, he'd probably get shot by these lunatics down there in Venezuela. That would be crazy to go down there and actually fight on his turf. And this guy's never leaving his country because he's not going to leave his goons behind. So, you know, it's never going to happen.
Dude, I like how he was pretty much on that mic eating it though. He was like, "Where you are? What are you doing? I'm gonna eat your ass." Something like that's like, dude. He's like, "Could you eat the mic a little bit more?" This is funny though. I gotta say, it's funny. It's a little sad, but it is funny. I'll admit that. But with that, I hope that covers that well. Pretty funny, but still really sad. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat goes to Hardwater Channel, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Hardwater, for that very generous support as well. And they said, Lay Spring Intelligence Corps, always vigilant. Morality beats ideology. Slava allies, Slava heroes, Slava dad jokes, LSA.
And LSA, baby! And I gotta say, thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And also, thank you for being a part of the Lee Spring Army Intelligence Corps, the LSIC, or the LSIC as it's called. And I gotta say, y'all are always vigilant. And morality does beat ideology. And I gotta say, that is an amazing thing of the LSIC. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. Long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die. Put an LSA in the chat. And with that, thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and this one goes to Andy L., who's also a longtime channel viewer in Texan. He puts in a 20, and thank you very much, Andy, as well. And he said, good night to the LSA.
And good night to you, Andy L., and good night to the entirety of the LSA on your behalf. I hope you sleep well. Thank you so much for being here with us again tonight, Andy L., and helping this channel to keep on running, and I hope you were able to enjoy the show tonight. And with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Leora Avagile, who puts in a $20 donation and says, hey, enforcers, great job as always. And thank you very much, Leora, for the kind words. And she said, I just got to know who the Hot Dog Man is. He sounds hilarious to just make fun of the channel and also to make fun on the channel. And from what I understand, he's an entitled stoner who eats hot dogs.
That's a pretty adept description of the guy. Like, honestly, Leora, you hit it dead on the nail. That's really what the guy is. To give y'all a little bit of background about the guy, also, some people are like, who is Hot Dog Man? We will never say that lunatic's name on the stream because that's what he wants. He wants publicity. He's never going to get that publicity, but he will get roasted, and he knows who he is. He knows he's the Hot Dog Man, and he knows he's getting roasted. So it's a win-win for us. We get to roast a guy and piss him off, but he doesn't really get anything out of it. So to answer your question, though, to give y'all a little bit of a description about who this guy is, he is a failed YouTuber who really took off being a ultra political channel. He tried to shift over to covering the war in Ukraine, and then he started to muddy the waters by being ultra political with Ukraine on domestic political matters that don't really affect Ukraine. And then also, he has ended up for the past 2 years attacking us on this channel, specifically Matthew and me. He has doxed our home address. He has encouraged people to harass us. He tried to get his community to actually call up our law school and have us swatted in the middle of the day at law school. We actually know that that was a thing that happened because I talked to the police chief at that specific university, and he actually confirmed that that day that I went into the police office to talk to him, there were people who were a part of his community that were calling up and saying things about Matthew and me and trying to get the law school to take action against us with armed police. Like, no joke, that was something that happened, and there is an actual police report on that out there in the world somewhere. That's something that actually happened. This guy is a sick individual, a very, very depraved person. He's slandered this channel a great deal. The guy is terrible by every single step of the measure. If anything, I would think that if anyone should ever have their YouTube channel revoked and never be allowed to speak on the internet, it should be that guy. The guy is sick and depraved, and the only reason he uses his platform is as a platform of his own personal sick, twisted form of violence. But the nice thing, though, is that people have realized that, and every time he goes down that path, people just unsubscribe from him, and he's so stupid, he cheers on the people who are unsubscribing from him. But yeah, that guy is a really crazy guy, really, really insane guy. But that's a good way to describe him, Leora Avagile. Entitled weed-smoking person who eats hot dogs. Pretty good way to describe him. But still, thank you so much once again for support. And also someone said, wait a minute, you got swatted? We didn't get swatted, we almost got swatted. I think this is how it would have gone. If I hadn't gone to the police office that day at the university and talked to him, we probably would have been swatted in the middle of class. Like, they actually would have probably brought an armed police team, like a city SWAT team, out to the law school, to that room. They would have had us brought out into the halls. They would have patted us down. They probably would have checked our cars out in the parking lot. And then they would have found out that it was all nothing but fake crap that these people were calling in. Because it wasn't him, it was his community, but he was encouraging his community to go do it. And that was something that almost did happen. Like, I went into the police officer, I explained the entire situation, and then the police chief guy said, wait a minute. Are they saying this and that? And he was repeating exactly what these people were saying. I said, yeah. I was like, well, how would you know that? And he said, well, we've been getting calls all day from these people, and they've been saying all this stuff to us. And I was like, no way. Because the reason why I went to the police office that day, if y'all didn't know, is thanks to Lee Spring Intelligence Corps picking up the information that these people were planning on doing that day. And then I had to get into a huge rigmarole with Matthew, because Matthew was like, I wouldn't do anything, they're probably not going to do nothing. I was like, no, I think we should tell the police department at the university about this, because what if they actually are going to do something like that? You know, we could end up possibly getting injured or killed in the middle of this from a misunderstanding, because all the SWAT team's going to hear is that there's a armed individual on a campus. And that's not true, but they're going to be working off of that information. So then I went to the police department. They were like, yep, that is exactly what they've been trying to say today. And then after that, they were like, you should file a police report so that way we know about this kind of stuff. So then I went and filed a police report that day. So my entire day at law school that day wasn't spent in classes. It was spent in the police department instead, having to file a police report. But hey, one thing I will say, though, is that if the hot dog man ever personally showed up to that university, Matthew, he is still on their trespass list. He doesn't know that. So if he ever showed up on campus, they're going to arrest him.
Trust me, that guy's never showing up on a campus, like anywhere but the campus. He's not showing up anywhere where there's any education happening.
No.
He's not for that.
But with that Dr. Disrespect mustache, though, he might be showing up to different kinds of campuses. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And thank you so much once again for support, Leora Avagile, and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat goes to Sully Canuck, who comes in late in the stream, but we're glad to have you, Sully. He puts in a $20 donation, and he says, just a few Canuck dollars to help out, and looking forward to meeting you someday. And LSA, baby!
And thank you so much for the support, and thank you for helping to keep this channel running. Hopefully we will be able to see you all in person one day. I'm still trying to think about how that could happen. We probably got some security arrangement to do that, but we would love to do that. And I would love to get to meet and talk to a lot of y'all who watch and enjoy this channel, because that would just be great. I think that would be really cool. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support, Sully Canuck, our LSA Canadian Navy veteran. And thank you once again for being here tonight. A little late, but better late than never. And supporting this channel and making it possible. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Live, Laugh, Love Toaster, who puts in a $15 donation. And well, let's see here. I think they removed the bath part out of their name, but thank you very much for the support. They said, welcome back, Enforcer Matt, and thank you. It's good to be back. And they said, is it just the 6 F-16s that have arrived? And yes. And what say you, Enforcer?
And I would have to agree with both of those things. Thank you for welcoming Enforcer Matt back, and it is just the 6 for now. And we're assuming that there will be more in the future. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again.
All right, and up next, we have a $15 super chat from Duncan VR, and thank you very much, Duncan, for that support. And of course, he has the animal noises. And if you're new, Duncan puts in these animal noises. It's not me suddenly deciding to speak like an animal. It's the noises right here in the super chat. And Duncan says, "Bamuba, papa, the hot dog man stand got complaints. Meow." A customer said that he got an angry fly.
Oh,
it's
man.
in hot dog. They said. And too much mustard. And it's hot dog man. And hello, governor. And bye-bye, moof quack. I was about to make a joke, but I passed on it. I'm giving him a pass this one time.
I will not have that kind of sympathy. Hot dog man be on that pipe like Popeye the Sailor. Like he'd be sitting there going, something like that with the pipe. Oh man. And I mean, like, he's got the form down and everything, man. He gets the pipe, he gets the lighter, and he spins the pipe around, heating all sides evenly. A man knows his technique. And a man must be crafty at his hobbies, like smoking crack. But beyond that, I gotta thank you so much once again for support, Duncan VR, and helping this channel to keep on running. Because it is folks like you who helped to make this thing possible. I got to thank you for throwing in the animal noises, a traditional staple of this channel. And I thank you so much for enjoying and being here with us tonight. And so with that, thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Rangers Rule, who puts in a $10 donation. And thank you very much, Rangers Rule, as well. It said, happy birthday to you, Surprise, it's us. And also, happy birthday to you, Surprise, it's us. If you're still in the live chat, I think today's actually their birthday, and yesterday was the day before their birthday. So if you're here, happy birthday. But Rangers Rule said the missile that took out the evil in Tehran, could that have come from Israel's submarine?
I'm not really sure. That's a good question. It could have. From some submarines, you could launch some kind of missiles like that, but I'm not really sure. I would actually believe those probably launched by the Israeli Air Force, if anyone. But with that, I hope that does address that somewhat well, at least in my opinion. And thank you once again for support, Rangers Rule, and thank you so much for giving a happy birthday to Surprise It's Us. Hey, and happy birthday to you, Surprise It's Us. I think their birthday was yesterday, Matthew, and I think they're coming.
It was actually today. It was today, actually. She was a day early, I think, yesterday.
Oh, my heavens. But still, thank you so much once again. Happy birthday to you, Surprise It's Us. I hope you've been having a great one today. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Dean London, who puts in a $10 donation. And thank you very much, good sir, for the support. And they said LSA.
And LSA, and thank you so much for the support, Dean London, and helping the LSA to stay alive. And so with that, thank you once again. And we are on to the next one.
And up next, huge shout out to, Rob S. I got all mixed up in the spreadsheet there, but thank you very much, Rob, for that $10 super chat. And sadly, no comment to address. But of course, Rob, we appreciate that support very much because it helps to keep us running. And with that, we're moving on to our next one, which goes to AMX10 Speedy Bang Bang, who also puts in a 10. And it says a live chat question, please. And I need chameleon eyes to keep up with. He spelled it chameleon, by the way. I did not say chameleon like that. He said, I need chameleon eyes to keep up with the different locations around the world. So thank you for this channel.
And thank you so much, AMX10 Speedy Bang Bang, for supporting this channel and helping it to keep on running. And I got to say, thank you so much for appreciating our coverage of multiple areas around the world. Y'all know what's crazy is that we actually do better statistically by the stats as a world news channel than we do a Ukraine war news channel specifically. Like, do you notice that, Matthew? We have gotten 102,000 views tonight, and we're not covering Ukraine war news specifically. It's really world news.
I think it's just because the news is hot in the Middle East. That's why that happens. I think if it was like a normal news day, it'd be about on par with what we're covering in Ukraine.
But the news is hot around the world, and it's good news. It's good.
Hot off the press, baby. It's like you can't help but watch this. It's like the world might be burning down in the Middle East. It's like you don't really have a choice. You got to watch.
You've got to watch it. You've got to. And I got to say, we are certainly watching it. And I got to say, a huge shout out again to you, AMX and Speedy Bang Bang. And thank you for enjoying that we cover so many different areas of the world and giving them a little bit of airtime. And with that, we will make sure to grab a live chat question in your honor. And so what do we got, Matthew, for a live chat from AMX10 Speedy Bang Bang?
So this one is going to go to Jay Atkins in the live chat. He said, Enforcers, do you think that the Ukrainians will attack Crimea this year?
I am not really sure. There's kind of like like two camps in the Ukrainian government right now. One saying they want to reclaim all the territory still. The other saying they want to try and end the war by the end of this year, or at least the active phase. We don't know if they're going to go for Crimea at this moment, considering that it doesn't really seem like either side is really winning out over the other in the government. So I would say it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's not something that's certainly going to happen either. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. Thank you once again, AMX10 Speedy Bang Bang, for sponsoring that live chat and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one. And Matthew, note to self, if I drink the espresso things, I'm going to have 2 of them because I'm about to fall asleep over here. But with that, we are on to the next one.
Yeah, see, the cold brew, the same amount that you usually have is about 200 milligrams of caffeine, or roughly maybe 200 to 250. One shot of the espresso out of my machine is about, I think, 100 to 120 at the most. So 2 shots is like basically cold brew levels of caffeine. But it's caffeine, so ultimately it should be about the same. But anyways, jumping into our next super chat here, we have one from John B. Rempel, who puts in a $10 donation. And thank you very much, John, for that support as well. Hey! He said, keep up the good work, gentlemen, and take one from the live chat.
And thank you so much for the support, John B. Rempel. We are going to keep up that great work as best as we can. And we will make sure to get a live chat as well. And so with that, thank you so much once again. And what live chat do we have, Matthew, in honor of John B. Rempel?
All right, and this one goes to Stephen Urkel, who says, what if Iran attacks the pro-Western countries in the Persian Gulf?
We would probably come to their defense much like we would Israel's, because attacking any of those countries, it falls within our security interests to defend them. So I would say we would probably treat that the same as Israel being attacked if any of them were directly or outright attacked, beyond the Yemeni Houthis attacking Saudi Arabia, which is a fairly normal occurrence. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, by the way, the acting foreign minister of Iran did just threaten. They said this. They said any Arab nation that provides its airspace to Israel to launch strikes against Iran will become a legitimate target for attack. So they're already threatening literally everybody in the region once again, basically trying to intimidate and cause fear to make people back off. So once again, the same thing we saw the last time Iran attacked Israel with ballistic missiles. They're doing the exact same thing again, but this time they might have some more missiles. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. But anyways, jumping into our next super chat here, we have a $10 donation from Ahmed Snowy. And thank you very much for that support as well. They said, love what you do, keeping me informed as an active duty service member, and I update my office every day on what's going on.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support. And that's really cool to hear, Ahmed Snowy, that you're an active duty service member. We actually have a lot of those watching. And also, I actually have a lot of friends who watch who are in the Space Force, funnily enough. A lot of them are out there in Colorado, and a decent amount of them either watch this stream and get a little bit of news on what's going on around the world. And from what I know, I think a couple of their commanders also watch this show as well. And what's funny, Matthew, is that one of those commanders, I think, is an intelligence. So they kind of like get a cheat sheet every day from this channel on what's going on in some areas of the world. But that's really cool.
You know, the CIA actually hires people called OSINT analysts and OSINT targeters, which actually do the job of scouring social media and all these other different channels as well, to see what they can find. They use that to augment their actual signal intelligence and also their other intelligence as well to create a whole picture. So there's actually people that kind of do the job we're doing, but they do it for the CIA in an official role.
And I'm glad, I am proud to be one of those American citizens that helps their workload to be a little bit easier. We carry the load here on this channel sometimes for some of those folks, and I hope that we are making their job a little bit easier some days on the information gathering side of things and trying to amalgamate at least our end of things with the open source intelligence into a good, discernible picture that's giving an idea of what's going on. But beyond that, I gotta say, really cool to hear that you inform your office on what's going on every single day because of this channel, and let them know that the Lee Spring Army is with them. We are with any Western aligned government or military in the world, and we hope that we are helping y'all out, at least in a small way, on what's going on out there and getting y'all some up-to-date information. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that it does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to A-Star, who puts in a $10 donation. And thank you very much, A-Star, for the support as well. They said he was probably a child that knocked down other kids' building blocks because he was jealous of the towers. He's an entitled narcissist pretending to be a victim in order to get narcissistic feeding.
Dang, call
and also, that could describe many leaders around the world. Which one are you talking about, A-Star? That's a very, very widespread like description of so many dictators and leaders right now around the world. That could be Maduro. It could be Putin. It could be anybody, really. So who do you mean?
Hot dog man, that's what they meant.
Hot dog man, put him in the class of dictators, I see.
Class of dictators. But yeah, I would say Hot Dog Man probably was one of those kids that, I don't know what was up with them, but they had to have some issues. You know, it's one thing. It's something, you know, it's something interesting when none of his family, both his real family or adopted family, have anything to do with him, because in the process of trying to get him served with our lawsuit, because he hid like damn Osama bin Laden during the time we were trying to serve him, so we actually still technically never had him served with a lawsuit. He was hiding so much, we actually ended up sending a process server out to his parents, because we assumed, based off of some information that we had, he may still be living with his adopted parents. And they went out there and they were like, does he live here? And apparently, according to the process server, they actually made a note of this. They sounded so sad and dejected when he asked that, and they said, no, not him. Yeah, he's got to be out on his own, or something like that. It was something along those lines. So not only does he apparently attack us and act like a freaking psychotic lunatic with us, apparently he also did that with his adopted parents as well, because it sounds as though they don't really have any dealings with the guy anymore. Airing out his personal info, I don't really feel that bad about it because he sits there and doxes us just about every day that he gets the chance. So, it is what it is. But it sounds as though he's got some pretty bad mental issues. I wish people would catch on to that kind of crap, though. I don't know how he has even a small following anymore, because I think anyone who actually would pay attention to the guy, if they're not like mental nutcases themselves, would realize the guy's a lunatic. Like, and the guy's got some very bad issues, and people shouldn't really be paying attention to him because all they're doing is fueling him to really dive even deeper into the problems he's got. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, thank you once again for supporting how this channel keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and this one goes to Quantum Fighter, who puts in a $10 donation, and thank you very much, Quantum Fighter, for that support as well. They said, thanks for the news and for cracking me up every night, and live chat question, please. LSA forever, Slava Ukraine, and Herom Slava.
And thank you so much for enjoying the news, and thank you for enjoying our little jokes. We hope they're funny. We hope they do, because we never know. Like, we just throw out the jokes, and we hope folks are laughing. We never really can tell. But still, we will make sure to take a live chat question. And of course, long live the Lee Spring Army, and Slava Ukrainian, Herom Slava. And what do we got, Magic, for the live chat?
And this one goes to Chuck, who says, do you really believe that Hamas has a force that can support offensive operations against Israel?
I would not think that they would. Like, light infantry forces just would not be able to hold their own that long. They'd probably get defeated pretty quickly. So I would say chances of that are probably fairly low, at least especially for Hamas, considering that they've already largely been dismantled in the Gaza Strip in a large form. And so Hezbollah would probably be the only one who stands a chance, and even then, it would be a very, very slim chance at doing anything. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And I thank you so much once again for the support and sponsoring that live chat question. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, up next, huge shout out to Mike Beckberger, who put in a $10 donation across several super chats. And thank you very much, Mike, for supporting the channel as always. And sadly, no comment to address. But of course, we appreciate it very much, and we appreciate you being a viewer as well. And we also have a $10 super chat from Ben Ite. He says, Street View, let's look at Venezuelan ghetto.
That's it. It's time to look at a Venezuelan hood. We're going to go to Caracas, the capital of Venezuela. And let's see, we're going to go to San Bernardino. That's not San
boy, that man was Caracas.
So, dude, that is kind of looking rough from, we can't even go down there. Like they don't even allow Street View in this country, do they? Why, they do not allow Street View in this. That's telling you how bad this is already. So let's see if we can see something. Whew. They have not had a pressure washing down here in a great many years. This is... Well, it doesn't really look like it was that bad at the time. It looks like it's really starting to go down, though. Oh, what's this? They got like a little festival down there. And they have an open market, and they have the slums off in the distance, it seems, but we really can't see those two. Oh my goodness, that is a mega slum out there on that hill. But we can't really get close to them because they don't allow Street View down here. But those mountains are actually beautiful. It kind of reminds me of Hawaii, like on Oahu or something like that back there.
Oahu!
Dude, that's what I say when I want a drink of Yahoo chocolate milk, and I just like, I just want it so badly that I'm like, and I go, Wahoo, or something like that. But anyways, with that, I hope that kind of addresses that well. I mean, we can't, wait, hang on, is there Street View in other areas of the country? No, there isn't. So really looking at Venezuelan hoods, it's like impossible because we can't even get down there really. Well, this one, yeah, this is a Venezuelan hood. They got a nice church though. But the rest of the
What is that? Is that a Lada parked out front? What was that? Did you see that vehicle?
Bro, is that a Lada?
What the hell, man? That's like a KGB car.
Dude, that's like the, what the hell is it called? It's like the, damn, I forgot. The Gaz. The Gaz, that's what it is. It's like one of those little Gaz KGB spy cars in a black, Yeah,
it looks sketchy. Like, this could be maybe state police or something.
Maybe. Or it could just be some random guy or something.
Look at that government Explorer behind it. Do you see that? Look at that.
Dude, everything's government for you. You're like, look at that government car.
That's not an Explorer. That's... That looks like a Toyota 4Runner mixed with an Explorer and a little bit of a Toyota Sequoia.
I'm telling you.
Man, is that an Alibaba Jeep? What the hell? What's up with the vehicles on the street?
Bro, I think that is an Alibaba Jeep. It's like an off-brand Jeep.
Yeah, it looks like the body line of a Jeep, like Grand Cherokee or something, but the front end doesn't look right. Like, it looks fake.
Yeah, there's something wrong with the street, but what does this say over here? Collegio, so like the College of Milagrosa. I'm assuming that this college isn't that well off because this looks like shit. So, dang, man, this place is rough. Oh, wait, who's that? Oh, some guy in a bike.
Who's that? Oh, that's Bob on the corner over there. That's him.
Ike, or something like that. Just start doing that out of the blue. Dude, I'm telling you, man, I wish we could look at the Venezuelan hoods, but we can't actually, Ben Ike, because they don't allow us down there, us normal Americans. But still, I hope that does address that somewhat well, and I think you want to give her support and help this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Ben Ite yet again. This time he puts in a $10 donation, and thank you very much, Ben, once again. He says, what would Elon's walkout music be? And LSA.
I wouldn't even know. What would Elon's walkout music be? I don't know. Like, he would pick something quirky or weird.
It wouldn't be Rocky or something.
No, it wouldn't be Rocky. Knowing Elon, it would probably be like some of that like weird music. I don't know how to describe it. I don't even know how to describe that, but it would be weird.
Some 1960s industrial work music.
Dude, yeah, it'd be something like that, dude. Or better yet, it'd be like one of those weird modern artists where they're like Yoko Ono or something like that. You know, just you know, something like that. Because it's not about whether he likes the music or not. With Elon, it's really just about sticking out from the crowd is the best way to put it. So that will be like the main thing he's going for, at least from what I would know. But with that, I hope that does address that well. And here is some Yoko Ono for all of y'all. Or something like that. But anyways, with that, thank you so much once again for support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one right here, Gojida, who puts in a $10 donation. And thank you very much, Guillermo, for that support. He said, greeting from Uruguay. Is it Uruguay or Uruguay? Wait, what's that again?
Uruguay.
So, greetings from Uruguay, enforcers and LSA. I've been watching the stream since the early days. Keep up the good work. And first time sending a super chat too. And P.S. Screw that hot dog man.
Hey! People are saying screw hot dog man from Uruguay all the way to Sweden. I love to see it. And all the way from Australia. And I gotta say, what a country Uruguay is. It's sandwiched right in between Brazil and Argentina. Just in this little area like this plain. Kind of like around the area of La Plata. Although La Plata's plain is down here. But that's still pretty cool. But beyond that, let's go look at Montevideo. Let's see what this city looks like. Dude, the grid is immaculate. Like, I'm not gonna lie. What a grid. Like, at least in this area down here, like, they actually have a uniform grid. Pretty cool.
That's right.
So let's see what we got. Not bad, actually. Like, kind of looks like, for some reason, it reminds me a little bit of Odessa in Ukraine.
A little bit. Also, by the way, I saw a very interesting question here. Let's see. So I remember hearing that Kanye West was in Russia, and I saw Destiny Edgington say, did Kanye ever make it back from Russia? That was a good question. I actually never heard him return. Let's see. He arrived there sometime in the beginning of July, like maybe around the 1st or something like that. I don't see any news about him returning. I don't know.
Bro,
that's a good question.
Kanye went crazy, dude, or something, and he sat there and he said, I hate the Russians. I hate the Russians. And then they went, put him in prison, and like no one has said anything yet about him.
What if Kanye West is the reason all the people got exchanged and they were released from prison? That'd be the same as like Dennis Rodman going to North Korea and like having the best rapport ever with the world's most brutal dictator and like having actual like conversations with him. It's like if this is the case, I'll be curious to see.
Dude, watch it be something like, no, take me, or something like that. They took him in exchange for the president. What, dude, if it was something like that, it would be stupid. Like, it really will be. I will, at that point, I'm going to have to give up covering news, folks, because if it's getting that crazy out there, I don't even think I can predict what's going to be happening next. But still, with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you so much once again for support, Guillermo Ojeda, and thank you once again for supporting this channel and helping you keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to CK Bold, who puts in a 5 and says, take the usual. And we shall take the usual. And thank you very much, CK Bold, as always, for supporting the channel. And this live chat question goes to the Texas guy, who says, where will Turkey and Erdogan play a role in this, considering their recent threat to invade Israel?
I think considering that the United States is completely behind Israel and backing them in their defense, Turkey is probably going to back off at this point. It would be a bad idea for them to try and engage the United States, because that's the quickest way to get you fast-tracked out of the Western world and probably get your government overthrown in the short term. So they're probably going to back off at this point, at least in my opinion. And so with that, I hope that does address that live chat well. Thank you so much once again, CK Bowl, for sponsoring that live chat and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and this one goes to Ace Movie, who puts in a 5, and thank you very much. They said, I've been watching these streams since Bakhmut, which is a very long time ago.
Dang.
And this is for Enforcer Matt's Bombcat Fund, and he said, keep it up, LSA. And thank you very much for donating to the Bombcat Fund. I do have a couple of model Bombcats back here on the shelf, and I appreciate it very much. That'll buy some more WD-40 to keep the wheels from squeaking. But Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta thank you so much for the support. Thank you for supporting the Bobcat Fund in Battle of Bakhmut. The Battle of Bakhmut was in the latter part of 2022 and the early part of 2023. That is crazy to think that you've been around since then. Because while that's not an old guard, technically, that is still a long time. That's at least 2 years now. And that is so crazy to think you've been here for that long. And thank you so much for the support, Ace Movie, and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you for making this thing possible. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to LSA Sergeant Figment, who puts in a $5 donation, and thank you very much, Sarge, for the support again. He said, LSA, hit the like button. That's an order.
And LSA, hit that like button. That's an order from LSA Sergeant Figment. And thank you so much for being here with us tonight, LSA Sergeant Figment. I hope you're still safe on your travels right now. And thank you for still being on the stream while in the middle of your travel. So I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much once again. And if everyone could hit the like button, we would love to see it. And so thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
And our next one here goes to Timogen, who puts in that $5 donation, and thank you very much. They said, love the channel, guys. You do a great job, and thank you. And also, we appreciate the kind words very much. And Enforcer, what say you?
And thank you so much for the kind words. That is very nice of you. And I got to thank you once again, Timogen, for always being around, always enjoying the channel and supporting it, because it is folks like you who help to make this thing possible and help us to keep it running. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to It Scheisse, who puts in a $5 donation. Thank you very much for that support. They said, for the guy on social, thanks for being the reason for my first donation.
Hey! And who's that guy on social, Matthew? Refresh my memory.
I don't know. I don't know if they mean like on Twitter or something like that. They might mean like our Twitter account, I think. That's the only thing that comes to mind. So if you join because of the Twitter account, thank you very much, because we don't have like real like data on how many people join the stream from the Twitter account. I'm always curious about that. So if that is the case, you were from Twitter, I'm very glad to hear that you found us, and we're glad to have you. But Enforcer, what say you?
And I got to agree with that. We are glad to have you. Really cool if you did come from Twitter. We don't know of a lot of people who do that, because a lot of people don't say anything about it. But still, thank you so much once again for your support. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Ray E-Biker 92, who puts in a 5, and thank you very much, Ray, for that support. He said, I've been lurking for quite a while, and great job, and thanks.
And Matthew, we've got to work hard to support the American lurker. But beyond that, I got to say, thank you so much for the support. Thank you for being one of our American lurkers. And thank you so much for enjoying the work we do. Thank you so much. Because a lot of people just enjoying the work we do is payment enough. That's why we love to run the stream absolutely free, is because so many people can get on here. It's stress-free, it's inconvenience-free. You just click right on and you get to watching. And we love that. And I got to thank you so much for enjoying that and supporting it and helping it to be possible, because folks like you make this thing a reality. And so with that, thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next we have a $5 donation from Philip Fixes LOC, and he puts in a very specific address, which has me scared. Let's see here. He said, look at the solar I've installed on that nursery. We're actively installing another 300-ish panels. Love LOC. Now, Philip Fixes, I will say this. I don't know if the Enforcer is going to look at that address. That's cool, by the way. You installed the solar on it, but you know, I don't want to necessarily show something there because the nuts that watch this stream might decide to start harassing that business or something like that because they think that maybe it's affiliated with a channel or something. So, Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that we will sadly have to avoid that Philip Fixes. I would love to look at that, you know, and I wish that we could, but I want to make sure that that business doesn't end up getting harassed because there are crazy people out there who will do that. So that way, eventually, that business will go, man, the Enforcer's getting us harassed, although we didn't. So sadly, we won't be able to look at it, but I do thank you so much for the support, Philip Fixes, and good work, by the way, because I did pull it up on the second screen, and it is really cool. It's just sadly we can't show that because of the lunatics that may be watching. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Keyboard Mouse, who puts in a $5 donation. And thank you very much, Keyboard and Mouse, very much for that support. They said, great coverage, great insights. I've been watching every day for about a week.
And isn't that wonderful to hear? And I got to thank you for the support, Keyboard Mouse. And thank you for enjoying the coverage and the insights. We try as hard as we can to make it as good and as well thought out and as interesting and as funny as possible. And I got to say, thank you for watching for every day for about a week. You'll probably become like many others who've been watching for years now, pretty much every single night. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to A-Star, who puts in a 5 once again and says, be more concerned with KG burritos than hot dogs. The hot dog isn't a threat. And Marmot, please.
And of course, we must get the Marmot on request. And I got to thank you so much for the support, A-Star, and helping this channel to keep on running. And I do have to say, that Marmot do be bussin'. Let me go get that picture of that Marmot. Oh, hello there! Oh, it's Alan!
Hello there, Governor! Hello there, Alan. Hello there, good sir. We've taken the piss out of the hot dog man quite severely tonight. It's been quite ugly to see, but, you know, quite ugly for an ugly person, I'm telling you. It's quite justified.
Aw, man. I'm gonna make another hit piece. I'm going to destroy them and effing farm their subs. Aw, man. What? Wait a minute. What? The video, it lost me 100? What the? What the?
Man, what's it even mean to farm the F out of someone's subs? What the hell does that even mean?
Well, it means that he sucks so much, the only way he can get subscribers is making a rage piece and then trying to get subscribers off of the rage piece, because otherwise he's either constantly losing them or he's literally flatlining the entire time. So, and then what's funny is that he makes a piece trying to farm subs, and then he loses subs. Like, he doesn't even farm any subs, he just loses them. Dude, if he was a farmer, he would be one of those that was out of business before the Great Depression even hit, man, because he just sucks that bad. Dude, the guy sucks so much, I heard that they're trying to hire him over at Dyson to figure out how to get that kind of suction power in a vacuum.
Oh, damn, that was a good one. You see here, the suction power is unmatched with the Dyson vacuum cleaner. It's like, you know, suddenly the vacuum cleaner starts shifting into Hot Dog Man's face and said, "You rang."
It's one of those creepy, like, uncanny valley kind of vacuum. Oh man, dude, I heard that the suction from that guy, because he sucks so much, is so much that they actually use him at NASA to try and create those vacuum chambers. Like, I've heard much.
Man, I like the Dyson one better, I gotta admit.
Yeah, the Dyson one you can't top, but I've heard so much about this guy and how much he sucks, both as a person and as a YouTube channel, both figuratively and metaphorically. And I gotta tell y'all that some folks out there in the Ukraine war community, they might have been able to see that suction up close and personal. Yeah. But anyways, moving on from that, thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, A-Star. And thank you for letting us see Alan, the gorgeous and very odd-shaped Marmot. And so with that, thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next, huge shout out to Cat Chaser, who puts in a 4, as well as Marc-Andre Burnett, who puts in a 3, and LSA Rocks puts in a 2, and Butchie777 puts in a 1. No comments to address on any of them, but thank you very much, Cat Chaser, Mark, LSA Rocks, and Butchie for that support and helping to keep us running. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta say thank you to all 4 of y'all for the support. Cat Chaser, Marc-Andre Burnett, LSA Rocks, and Butchie777. You folks are the people who helped to make this channel possible, and I gotta give y'all a massive thanks and a huge appreciation for throwing in support. Y'all didn't throw in comments, but the support means a lot, and it helps us to be able to keep this thing running. And so with that, we have reached the end of the Super Chats tonight. Crazily enough, it's almost made our stream 4 hours long. And it is time for us to get into some live chats. Sadly, due to time constraints, because we are about 25 minutes overtime right now. We usually try and make our streams about 3.5 hours. We will only be able to get to the Morse code decoders in 3 live chat questions. And so, Matthew, take it away.
All right, and tonight the Morse code was solved by Cliff Simonson, Mark Hodges, Earl Bernew, Kevin J., Paul Schultz, and David Millsap. So he said, Enforcer, the LSA Morse code decipher says, the world is seemingly coming to a head, with evil forces attempting to triumph over evil, LLT, LSA.
And that's the sound of money, and y'all hit that dead on the nail. That was the Morse code message. I got to congratulate y'all once again for getting that Morse code message correct on the 889th day of the war, because if it wasn't for folks like y'all, we wouldn't be able to know what that message says every night, because after I put that into the Morse code translator, I pretty much forget it. And so with that, thank y'all once again. Really impressive stuff. And with that, we are on to the third to last question of the night.
And this one right here goes to Mad Machine, who says, do you have any idea when Russia will have to start rationing or stopping fuel for civilian use, except for maybe emergency services?
Probably by the later end of this year, most likely, because that's what we're kind of been hearing so far, and that's what we're still expecting by the latter end of this year. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the second to last question of the night.
And this question goes to Damien Ballou, who says, is it possible that the F-16 have been used to shoot down some of these Shahed drones coming in from Russia?
It's possible. We haven't heard about them being actively engaged in any air combat at the moment, but it is entirely possible that they were, considering that they're there today. They could have been there last night already operating in the skies over Ukraine and maybe helping to get such a high loss rate on those Shahed 136s. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, it's just that we don't have any confirmation on it to say that with certainty. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, and we are on to the final question of the night. And so, who was the lucky last person to throw in the lucky last question of the night?
And that viewer is Bobby S. He says, didn't the U.S. Air Force use a special missile that deployed as a quote-unquote sword and then killed only one wanted terrorist on a balcony, and maybe Israel used the same thing in Tehran?
Yes, that's actually called a Ginsu bomb. Well, that's what we call it here on this channel. It's a bomb that deploys pretty much like a big razor blade, and it just ends up, slicing up the person on the other end. So yes, they do use that, and maybe they use that on Nasrallah. Well, not Nasrallah. What is his name? Oh my goodness.
They used it on Hamas leader. They used him on Hamas.
Ismail Haniyeh. Yeah, that's the guy. So maybe they used that on Ismail Haniyeh. We're not entirely sure because we don't get to see the damage caused by the hit that much, but it's entirely possible that they did use that sort of a weapon. Really, at this point, we don't know what kind of weapon it is. It's possible it could have been any of them, and that is about as good as an option as any right now. But with that, we have reached the end of tonight's stream. I've got to thank each and every one of y'all so much once again for watching. 105,000 people have watched this stream tonight. That is crazy, Matthew. Do we ever see the viewership in the 6 digits before we round out? Never. Like, ever.
That's big time viewership. That's viewership that we hadn't had, I believe, since the last time Iran attacked Israel. I believe we had some huge viewership then as well, but rarely ever crossing over the 100,000 mark. So very rare to see.
Yeah, this is incredibly rare to see, and I got to say that it's absolutely incredible to have had all of y'all here tonight listening to this news and enjoying it. I, of course, have to thank everyone so much for their support to this channel, both in Super Chats and also just saying that y'all love the channel in the chat. It makes us very happy, and we always love to run this channel. And if y'all really enjoyed it and y'all are brand new, make sure to show up tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, so that way we can cover the next 24 hours of the news that's going on around the world. Really world news, because it's not just Ukraine now, it's really the Middle East and also a little bit of Venezuela as well. But with that, good night, good luck, take care, stay safe, Slava Ukraini, and long live the Least Spring Army. The Least Spring Army will never die.
And with that, thank you all once again for another great stream tonight. And like we just said a moment ago, a massive stream of over 100,000 people watching before it even ended, which is tremendous. And we thank you all very much for that, as I say tremendous. But with that, we'll see you all tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern for the next Nightly War News stream. And if there's enough news to cover as well, maybe a short war video midday also. But with that, thank you all for watching. Slava Ukraine, Herom Slava. And with that, good night.
Yes. The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.
Straße.